bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This House is in session. Minutes of the meeting held on 7th of October 2025, Monday the 13th of October 2025, Tuesday the 21st of October 2025 to be confirmed. Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The questions that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Announcements by Your Honor, Mr. Speaker. Messages from Her Excellency the President. Petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motion for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Second, please.
Second.
Questions that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 8, in the name of the Honourable Senior Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, to move the second reading of the Barbados National Energy Company Transfer and Vesting of Assets Bill 2025.
Honourable Member for St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to do exactly that, which is to pilot this piece of legislation which speaks to the transferring of the assets and the liabilities, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the National Petroleum Corporation. In fact, Mr. Speaker, if one is to be entirely precise, the House is being invited today to support the really important public purpose of transferring the assets, liabilities, and also the contractual commitments of the National Petroleum Corporation to the Barbados National Energy Company. And in so doing, sir, we will be, sorry? And in so doing, sir, we will be seeking to repeal the National Petroleum Corporation Act Cap 280 of the laws of Barbados. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, at clause 3 of the bill, provision is made to effect the transfer of the National Petroleum Corporation's assets and its liabilities, and that will be effected, EFFECTED, that will be effected once the legislation passes the House and is promulgated. The reality is that once the legislation comes into effect immediately, therefore, sir, the new entity, which is the National Energy Company Limited, will continue and it will adopt all of the contractual commitments which at present are held by the National Petroleum Corporation. So there's no break in the contractual liabilities, responsibilities, And equally, Mr. Speaker, sir, there's no break in the ownership of the assets of the entity. At clause 4 of the bill, sir, we speak to the question of the functions of the the new energy company, and the powers of the new energy company. And simply put, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is also, again, a matter of continuity. The functions and powers of the National Energy Company will continue those functions and powers of the entities which previously were separate. We had the National Terminal Limited, Barbados National Terminal Company Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, we had the National Oil Company, we had the National Petroleum Corporation. These are the body or group of companies which were owned by the government of Barbados, or are owned by the government of Barbados, and effectively, Mr. Speaker, sir, they come under one roof. The work of the new energy company, therefore, will continue to be that work which was done by the other companies in the group, so that, for example, the acquisition of licenses with respect to the Petroleum Winnings Act, sir, that will be continued under the new energy company. The question of searching for and securing petroleum product to service industry in Barbados in order to ensure that the economy of this country can run smoothly, and that we all, not only industry, I should say, all of us need petroleum product in some way, shape, or form. Mr. Speaker, sir, that continues to be sourced and available. The capacity, as you know, sir, to refine crude oil, that has been done in Barbados for many, many years. It fell under the jurisdiction of the National Oil Company, and that will now fall under the auspices of the National Energy Company. And similarly, sir, with respect to what was specific to the National Petroleum Corporation, the distribution and the maintenance of the gas lines, the distribution of natural gas across Barbados, sir, the operation of the repair work. Very often, sir, you see the streets being broken in order that we can access the natural gas lines to do the necessary repair work. All of that, sir, then transfers onto the new energy company. Originally, Mr. Speaker, sir, and it perhaps is useful to understand where we came from. Originally, the NPC was established as a body corporate, and the National Petroleum Corporation's functions are outlined in the legislation Cap 280. And effectively, all, as I had indicated before, all that we are doing is repealing and replacing all of the functions that previously existed and transferring them into the new Energy Company Limited. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, the House will recall that it was on the 1st of April of this year, I believe, that the Terminal Company Limited and the BNPCL were amalgamated. The BNOCL, National Oil Company Limited, and the Barbados Terminal Company Limited would have been amalgamated. And that was the point at which the National Energy Company was formed. So that, interestingly, you have to understand the roles of the companies. The National Energy Company, Mr. Speaker, sir, is actually the parent company of Barbados National Petroleum Company Limited, and, the parent company of the Barbados National Oil Company Limited. So the National Oil Company was its subsidiary, and in order to avoid any policy irrationality, NPC must also be brought under the ambit of the new Energy Company Limited, so that under one roof will stand the National Terminal Company, the National Oil Company, and the NPC as it used to be. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, sir, the NPC's functions of managing and the distribution of natural gas continues under this new company. Now, the National Terminal Company Limited, Mr. Speaker, sir, itself was an entity which stored and then ensured the distribution of all levels of imported petroleum products. So it would have been heavy crude oil, sir. It would have been Jet A1, aviation fuel, sir, ultra-low sulfur diesel, you name it, it is imported into the country via the National Terminal Company Limited. And of course, for the purposes of complete understanding of how the group works, the National Oil Company, sir, was the marketing arm of the group apparatus, and that did the contracting of the procurement of petroleum product. It did the coordinating of the shipping so that the product could be sourced and brought into the country, and it maintains the domestic supply of the oil product and all other petroleum-related products. And of course, sir, last but by no means least, it was the company that was in charge of petroleum exploration, both onshore and offshore. And even though we have not been able to point to a lot of success in terms of recovery offshore, there have been some exploratory work that had been done. I started by saying, sir, that it is a very important public policy purpose because what we're effectively doing is trying to bring a measure of efficiency into the energy sector management and bring all of the functions, sir. And the practitioners in the sector like to talk about the upstream and downstream functions. Upstream, sir, is the procurement of petroleum, exploration for oil or gas, and downstream, sir, is when we're talking about the distribution side. And you're bringing everything under one roof. Therefore, you are working towards reduction in some of the administrative overheads. You're creating economies of scale, sir, and you're effectively saving some costs. Now, sir, whenever you talk about saving costs and creating economies of scale in an amalgamation, inevitably and invariably, it gives rise to questions of staffing concerns. It would be remiss of me not to speak to that issue because, sir, Clause 6 of the bill speaks directly to the question of employees of the NPC becoming employees of the new company. And they are employed, Mr. Speaker, sir, on terms which are no less favorable than those on which they were employed prior to the commencement of the Act. So once this legislation becomes law, then the employees, sir, become employees of the Barbados National Energy Company. Their terms and conditions, the terms and conditions of their contract of employment remain as they are, and there is no disadvantage to be attributed to them. I made that point, sir, specifically with reference to some of the silent fundamentals that often are not spoken about but are critical to the individual. Things, sir, like your pension rights remain secure and they continue. Superannuation rights are preserved and they continue, Mr. Speaker, sir, and they transfer without prejudice to the new energy company. The April amalgamation, Mr. Speaker, followed work done by an amalgamation committee. The amalgamation committee, sir, comprised the trade unions of Barbados because both the national, both the Barbados Workers Union and the National Union of Public Workers represent officers of the National Petroleum Corporation and also officers of the Barbados National Oil Company and also officers of the National Terminal Company Limited. And, sir, the union, therefore, was part of the amalgamation committee. Representatives of the boards of management of the entities were part of the amalgamation committee, sir. The boards of the directors of the companies were also part of it, and it was coordinated under the guiding hand of the Employers Confederation of Barbados. I want to thank the Employers Confederation of Barbados for their partnership with us in this regard. I take my time, Mr. Speaker, sir, so as to give my learned friend from the constituency of Christchurch South an opportunity to become familiar with the legislation. I see him scrambling. I will take my time because I want for him to be able to participate in this debate. I understand. Yes, I intend to be very reasonable. And the question, sir, of what this legislation contemplates, sir, is really, as I said, bringing all of those members of the group, the energy group, owned historically by the government of Barbados together for the purposes of finding efficiency. Now, obviously, sir, I'm not the line minister, but my understanding of the process with regard to the work of the amalgamation committee was that there are no issues with respect to labor and staffing, and that all is well in that regard. And therefore, sir, I am thankful to all parties who participated. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, part of the amalgamation also touched and concerned the question of change management. Because you would understand, sir, that if for practical purposes, you've been working with the National Petroleum Corporation, doing things, I don't want to say doing things your way, but doing things the way in which the corporation would want to do it, it then is aligned or realigned with other companies, and there is a shift in the management structure and perhaps a rationalization of some approaches, that there has then to be a fairly transparent, first of all, and also reasonable period of time so that people can now make that cultural shift. It is said, sir, that you can have the world of strategy, but culture will eat strategy for breakfast every day. And you may have a corporate strategy, but sir, there have been cultural practices within each of those organizations, and so the change manager was brought in to do the work. Now, sir, let me say that the change manager, whose name I did not seek your permission, but I'm not calling his name in any disparaging way, Mr. Roger Hennis, fell ill and he passed away, sir. May he rest in peace. And let me say, therefore, that the question of the continuity of the change management process is one that also must now be looked at, because it is, in my judgment, and I think the judgment of the minister as well, a critical component of the smoothness of the operation. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I've talked about the pension rights being secured. I have talked, sir, about the amalgamation process. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the legislation really is not a large piece of legislation. It is as simple as that. And perhaps, sir, it would suffice to just speak to the House only about the NPC in that bland and perhaps more mundane and tedious approach. And I think it would give comfort to my friend, the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, who perhaps would prefer me just to remain within the boundaries of the legalism, where, sir, no doubt he finds his greatest degree of comfort, even though at times he himself misdirects himself on the legalism. But that is another matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think you may have heard it being whispered around the country over the course of the weekend that when the Labour Party leads, Barbados succeeds. I don't know if you heard that, sir. And to speak, sir, only within the four corners of what is a very innocuous piece of legislation on its face at first blush would lead us to do an injustice to those people, the thousands of them, as I understand it, who descended not only on Queen's Park, but around the island, sir, in a spirit, sir, of camaraderie, like a breath of national fresh air, Mr. Speaker, and who have adopted as their own personal mantra the view that once Labour is leading, they, the people of Barbados, are succeeding. And you know, sir, when these things spring up organically from a community, you must never stand in the way. It is like a tidal wave rushing to the shore. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that it is a phenomena that is causing the Honourable Member for Christchurch South great and deep consternation. He says to himself virtually every morning, boy, we're gonna do, because nobody sent him there. And it is a difficult thing for him to come to terms with that which he has gone and done. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is no doubt a wider political context to this debate, and we must have that context, because the natural gas sector, sir, is in fact a bridging fuel. The natural gas will be used as a bridging fuel to the renewable energy sector that we're trying to build out. So one is intrinsically linked to the other. And Mr. Speaker, sir, there will be no renewable energy sector in Barbados if we do not continue to work with the natural gas subsector in order to make sure that Barbadians are given the smoothest possible transition. Now, having said that, Mr. Speaker, sir, it then brings me to the point of obvious unease for the members of the Democratic Labour Party, because we're talking about building out a new sector, and we're talking about bridging the old with the new, and that can only effectively be done if you have a policy. That, sir, in this chamber, has in recent times become a bad word, Mr. Speaker, sir. In fact, if you look at the record of what has taken place in here, and indeed, from my understanding, in the other place, since this new leadership has emerged on the other side, Mr. Speaker, sir, it would be fair to say that the policy of the opposition is to have no policy. An ex-cathedra, this house, outside of the house, Mr. Speaker, sir, if you listen to what they say, I nearly said bray, what they say under cover of darkness in the constituency of St. James North, in the constituency of St. James Central, where they sought, sir, I woke up last Monday morning to discover I had been ravished by a sheep, Mr. Speaker, sir, a measure of abuse unheard of in the peaceful environs of my constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the parish of Christ Church, across the island now, a marauding group by night, under cover of darkness, sir. Maligning, Mr. Speaker, sir, mischaracterizing fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, misguiding the public of Barbados, sir, miseducating the public of Barbados, if the public do listen to them at all. I am told that there's a caravan that just picks up a few people from outside the Democratic Labour Party headquarters and carries them to a bus or two, carries them to whatever spot they're going to pitch their camp at in order to hurl abuse into the night air. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the one thing that is clear and consistent is that there is no policy discussion. You have witnessed, you are born witness to it in this place, Mr. Speaker. I said ex-cathedra, the House of Parliament. In cathedra, sir, that falls under your domain. I cannot trespass there. And though it may be my view that no policy discourse takes place from that side, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have no jurisdiction over that. Only you do. And I have to be guided by your views on what you hear. Mr. Speaker, sir, what cannot be taken from me is my right to formulate an opinion that in a policy that is uttered in here from that side. And therefore, what we have, sir, is, how best do I describe it, sir? Because I can give him some time to gather thought. I saw him rushing. I saw him grab the legislation, frantically pick up the pen to write as he read and to scribble. And I don't want him, sir, to say that there is any reason for him to fail to respond other than that it is his own weakness and his own inefficiency. An absence of support from the people who he has gathered around him. Now, Mr. Speaker, how do I describe it? Perhaps, sir, the level of what we hear can only be defined as Ciceronian rhetoric. Cicero, sir, that is a suitable analogy, because I think the Prime Minister appropriately described him as a man suited to be in the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. And so he has a love, sir, for Shakespeare, and perhaps his most favorite character, sir, is Cicero. Marcus Tullius Cicero, I think that is the name of the character, sir. A man, Mr. Speaker, sir, who distinguished himself with the view that if policy you do not have, then character assassination you shall always have. It is a credo, I believe, that the honourable member lives by. And he follows Marcus Tullius Cicero with almost religious fervor and zeal, Mr. Speaker, sir. And if you have read on Cicero, you know that he is known for what is called the Second Philippic, which is the longest, nastiest, most scathing, most vicious attack on political opponents, sir, I think, in the history of mankind. And it is an excursive, Mr. Speaker, that the honourable member has obviously read, reread, and studied. And there's a formula. Honourable members in here, sir, will reflect on what they hear in this place. The vilification of opponents as tyrants and dictators. Does that sound familiar to you, sir? Tyrants and dictators. The ridicule of your knowledge, Mr. Speaker, because you do not know the law. And that Cicero, sir, was a famous lawyer, and he convinced himself, even if not others, that he had a monopoly on the knowledge of the law, Mr. Speaker. So if it sounds familiar to you, if it sounds familiar to you, Mr. Speaker, sir, I forgive you. I forgive you. The insistence, Mr. Speaker, on vilifying his colleagues in the Roman Senate while telling them to be heard, that he must be heard in silence. I do not know, Mr. Speaker, if that also sounds familiar to you. And I urge you, sir, to become acquainted with the Second Philippic. If it does not, because it is an excursus, sir, that has a haunting refrain of familiarity. And though the original was done by a Roman several thousand years ago, it has been borrowed from, if not completely stolen, by others. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I say that only to bring me to the point that this House, your House, sir, has to know what transpired in the other place, the Honourable the Senate. Because this debate does not begin here. This debate was led by the Honourable Minister of Energy in the other place. And there was obviously, sir, an opportunity for the Democratic Labour Party spokesman to issue a reply. And that is standard fare, Mr. Speaker. I don't think that there should be any doubt. I don't think there should be any doubt that the opportunity would have been given, and it was taken. And what was said when I did my research stunned me. And I will share with your honor and your honor's House, Mr. Speaker, the Democratic Labour Party's position in the Senate. Because as I said, and I say again without fear of contradiction, that part of the problem in this place is that we come to discuss matters of governmental policy with an opposition that has no policy and has no competence to engage sensibly or seriously on policy. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the other place it was uttered that the energy transition, and I quote, should be a policy of gradualism. In other words, let us take our time with the transition to renewable energy. This is nothing that needs to be done quickly. Let us do it gradually. Business as usual, Mr. Speaker, sir. We can be languid. We can be as relaxed as we want to be because there is no sense of urgent purpose in the transition requirement. The spokesperson, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the other place went on to say that there's nothing to be gained from heavy investment in the sector. I want you to understand, Mr. Speaker, sir, where the Democratic Labour Party's voice is. There's nothing to be gained from heavy investment in the energy sector. A sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, that is going to touch transportation in Barbados. A sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, that is going to touch construction in Barbados. A sector, in fact, not touch, a sector that must be at the center of the future of transportation in Barbados. It must be at the future of construction in Barbados, Mr. Speaker, sir. A sector, sir, that must embrace the education of our children, sir. A sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, that must also be at the sector of the future of the agricultural industry in this country, Mr. Speaker, sir. A sector that must be at the center of the future of public health in Barbados, sir. A sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, that cannot be removed from the prospects and the success of the tourism industry in Barbados. And we are hearing in the other place from the appointed spokesperson of the Democratic Labour Party that heavy investment, Mr. Speaker, sir, is something from which there is nothing to be gained. No. I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I should go on because it didn't end there. He went on, much to my chagrin. I don't become angry about many things in politics, sir. But when a man can stand up in a parliament, a chamber of the parliament, and say, sir, that we, the Barbados Labour Party government, excluded residential investors, there's nothing further from God's truth. Well, I stood here, sir. I stood here and brought to this place the householders' right to renewable energy. The honorable member for St. James South and I toured this country, school hall after school hall after school hall, night after night, Mr. Speaker, sir, speaking to people about their opportunity to put solar PV on their roofs. 2.5 kilowatts, 5 kilowatts, 10 kilowatts, Mr. Speaker, sir. And Mr. Speaker, last but by no means least, this is the centipede bite, Mr. Speaker, that the advice that the honorable member of the other place would give to this government is that, and I quote him, there is a need to pull back. Pull back, sir. So all the sectors I just talked about, that we want to transform the way in which we construct buildings in Barbados and house our people, the way in which, Mr. Speaker, sir, our children can be taught in a degree of comfort, and I use the word degree not in its tradition, in its ordinary sense. I also mean, sir, the climatic degree. Mr. Speaker, the agricultural sector transformation that must include renewable energy. They, sir, do not want that society, that transition, that transformation. They're building a strange land where we perpetually will be reliant upon the fossil fuels and the imports and the imported costs and the importation costs. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, when I think of the building of a strange land, my mind goes back, I think it is to Psalm 137. And the question is asked, how can you sing the Lord's song in a strange land? I don't know, sir. I don't know. And you know, life imitates art sometimes. And there's also a truism that art, sir, anticipates life. And some years ago, a group, I think, called Boney M sang a song. And if the lyrics are very, very appropriate. When the wicked carried us away in captivity. I don't know who you're talking about. But if you can tell me that the little children should continue to suffer in the heat of the classrooms of today, where every MP is being asked to bring some fans. I don't know how many of you carried to schools in your constituency, sir. I got a truck, and I have carried, sir, 6 and 8 to school, and then here you need about 10 more. Minister, can help me with some more? Call it doing swirling hot air. When the wicked, Mr. Speaker, sir, carried us away in captivity and required of us a song. Because you should be happy about these things according to the Democratic Labour Party. This is the future Barbados. Rejoice and be glad, be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in George Street. That is the song of the Democratic Labour Party. The wicked carry us away in captivity and required of us a song. How can we sing the Lord's song, sir, in a strange land? That is why you're hearing it all around this country, that when Labour leads, sir, the Barbadian people have a chance to succeed. I was taught, Mr. Speaker, I was taught that I should never attribute to malice those things that are perhaps best described or ascribed to ignorance. I was taught that, sir. The honorable member for St. Thomas was taught that. There was a gentleman from St. Peter, a right honorable gentleman, who used to urge that constraint, that restraint upon us. Do not attribute to malice those things that are best described as ignorance. And I do not lay culpability for ignorance, sir, at the feet of the honorable member in the other place. He didn't send himself there. And he obviously, sir, is unread, obviously unready, and he can't keep himself there, sir. The culpability lies at the feet of the indisciplined and the negligent individual who was too, perhaps, intellectually indifferent, if not lazy, to offer guidance on these matters. I have heard the views of the Leader of the Opposition, sir, on a thing called the Marcia Week Show. I have heard in this place, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Leader of the Opposition mock the idea of resilience, that this is a catchphrase. I have heard him mock the idea of a sustainable economy and society. His exact language, Mr. Speaker, in this place is that these are catchphrases that they come in here talking about resilience and sustainability. What does that mean? I have heard that in this place, Mr. Speaker, sir. Pretty words. Huh? He called them pretty words. He called them pretty words, which I believe, sir, is a camouflage for his lack of understanding of what we're talking about. And he looks now, sir, he's searching in his bag, shifting about in his chair uncomfortably, and I don't want him to feel that he must be discomforted in here. He's welcome for the time being. The time has not yet come. I think the Prime Minister suggests you've got about 15 months, son. So don't get uncomfortable yet. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that it is a fact that is the type of attitude he has brought to the question of resilience in the economy and society and sustainability. And, Mr. Speaker, sir, since the Democratic Labour Party has sought to use the other place as a chamber to peddle absurdity and to defile the chamber, sir, by something that can only be described as garbage, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think I have a duty to respond more fully. That's why I say I'm not going to confine myself to the four corners of that little piece of legislation, because there is a duty, Mr. Speaker, to understand how the bridge between the old fossil fuel industry and the natural gas subsector arising out of it connects with and enables us to have a bridge to cross as we build out a renewable energy sector from ground zero. From ground zero, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, there are those who don't like to discuss policy, but they're going to discuss it in here today, Mr. Speaker, because the Parliament of Barbados has seen two national energy policies. Two. One from the Democratic Labour Party, which was laid in 2017, and their trajectory, Mr. Speaker, was to take them for 20 years, 2037. And what was their anticipation? How did the Democratic Labour Party see renewable energy the year before the people ushered them, crowned them with laurels, and ushered them out of the state, giving them, sir, not a single seat? The Democratic Labour Party's energy policy 2017 to 2037, sir, the 20-year plan had a target that there will be a 75% reduction in fossil fuel reliance. So even by 2037, Mr. Speaker, sir, 20 years down the road, they still would have been looking to import 1/4 of this nation's petroleum product requirement, sir. They still would have been wedded to the fluctuations in the international marketplace. They still, Mr. Speaker, sir, would have been reliant on the importation, the sourcing and importation of oil and gas coming from overseas. Mr. Speaker, sir, the foreign exchange vulnerability, because you're spending foreign exchange to bring it in. The absence, Mr. Speaker, sir, of national energy security, because you're still wedded to an importation structure from somewhere outside. That did not disturb them. In contradistinction, Mr. Speaker, the Barbados energy policy, Barbados Labour Party's energy policy, was 2019 to 2030. And we said, Mr. Speaker, that there's a target of having a 100% fossil fuel-free economy and society. 100%. We, sir, said that we had to disconnect ourselves from the global volatility, the volatility in the global energy sector. We said, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we had to de-risk the foreign exchange of this country and stop it from being so vulnerable We said, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we had to build out national energy security. No, sir, what does that mean? Go back to what they're saying in the Senate, that it should pull back, hold back, that it should have a policy of gradualism, which really is an excuse, sir, for inertia. And that means that in 2025, the Democrat are going to try and pick sense from the nonsense, sir, because the country has to have an opportunity to weigh in the balance. Weigh in the balance. And when you put things in the scales, sometimes you're found wanting. Mr. Speaker, the Democratic Labour Party policy is telling us about a continued exposure to fluctuation in oil prices, a continued exposure to uncertainty and unpredictability in our economic planning. They talk about a return to gradualism. Mr. Speaker, sir, let us understand clearly what they're talking about. In August of this year, this is why you don't want me to talk policy. Nobody can interrupt him. Nobody can guide him. He can say whatever he wants under the Dunk Street. When they set up the little platform with nothing better to do and no other intention than but to lambaste people, Mr. Speaker, sir, nobody can stop him unless you pull out the current. You're recording me? Don't worry, it is on the internet, star. You don't have to record me. You can go and get it off the internet at any point.
Honourable member, you can't refer to the leader of this as you.
Star?
I can't refer to him as you. You have to get the honourable member first.
Sorry, the honourable member, sir, accidentally turned on his recorder so I could hear him playing back my voice. And I don't mind. If that is what he wants, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will give him a tutorial. I was only, sir, I will not go to town. You want to record? I can get something to record. I will hold a free lecture for you because you have now confirmed in my mind the bankruptcy of the party you lead. You got to come in here to hear what policy should be. I know well you can't implement it. I know well, so you can record. Mr. Speaker, sir, I was going to the August 2025. I can take my time now. The central bank governor, Mr. Speaker, sir, did his half-year review in August of 2025. And he pointed out, sir, at that time, that in the year 2024, last year, for the first 6 months of the year, expenditure last year, 2024, expenditure for the first 6 months on the importation of petroleum product was $538.5 million. This country spent $538.5 million in the first 6 months of last year importing fuel and petroleum product. This year, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I'm going to use this as the opportunity for you to understand the wild fluctuations in energy pricing. The wild fluctuations, Mr. Speaker, sir, that make policy planning unpredictable once we continue to be gradual, once we continue to be wedded to the fossil fuel regime that the Democratic Labour Party in the Senate is telling us we must remain wedded to. It makes him uncomfortable. He's guzzling water, sir. He's drinking water. But I don't mind how much he drinks. The fact of the matter is he can either repudiate it or stand condemned by it. The 2025, Mr. Speaker, sir, which is this year, first 6 months, saw an expenditure on importation of fossil fuel of $262.5 million, sir. As opposed to last year, same period, 6 months, $538.5 million, which means that there was a $276 million decline in cost. So if you are a planner, and you look at last year and say, well, this is what the cost is going to be, and you look at this year, you say, oh, Lord, well, this is like a windfall. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, very often it is the reverse. When I was Energy Minister in 2021, sir, that's why I could hold the tutorial, because I know this sector like the palm of my hand. When I was the Energy Minister, sir, the Russia-Ukraine war started. It had nothing to do with us. Not a fella in the Caribbean was consulted or involved. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, approximately $400 million in importation costs for fossil fuel in 2020. And in 2021, Mr. Speaker, sir, it went to 1.2 billion. You understand what I tell you? 1.2 billion. How do you plan? How does the planner, the government, which must execute policy across a range of sectors, all driven by the use of electricity, all driven, Mr. Speaker, how then do you import into the country at a cost that is 3 or 4 times what it was the year before and be able to say that you're planning sensibly and effectively? And if you fail to plan sensibly and effectively, Mr. Speaker, sir, you're failing the people of the country. But there's only one way to treat to that matter. You have to emancipate yourselves from the shackles of dependency on the international environment and the international petroleum product market, where we have been connected to and wedded to from the time we were created as a country, sir. But the Democratic Labour Party, despite what they must know, which is all that I just said, with the governing central bank, and say in secret, he published it. They were all wrong in 2020 and 2021 when the war started. Mr. Speaker, sir, it cannot lay in their mouths that they didn't know. Their policy, sir, is that we should be more gradual. We should hold on. Let us be languid as a community of people. Let us relax a little bit because there's no sense of urgency. And now as the leader of the opposition looks into the sky as if he expects manna to fall from heaven to give him guidance, sir, I come to policy difference number 2. Because, sir, the call of the Democratic Labour Party to pull back, that's the first one. The second difference, sir, is the condemnation, sir, of investment. Now, I do not know any political party worth its weight anywhere in the world that condemns, sir, opportunities for investment. But this is not the first time it happened, you know, sir. It's not the first time it happened. We were supposed to go to Oistins. You remember that, sir? You remember when we were going to Oistins? We were going to Oistins. The honourable member for Christchurch West will remind the House that there was coming on to World Cup. There were going to be investments made in Oistins so that the small vendors could get refreshed kiosks. That's right. That there could be a marketplace, sir, for people, ordinary, poor, black, working class people, sir, that would be cleaner, more hospitable environment, more friendly, more fit for purpose. $5 million was supposed to be spent in Oistins by way of investment in the people in Christchurch South, and the honourable member for Christchurch South spurned it on the floor of this House. It is consistent, Mr. Speaker, sir, that which we heard in the other place by the hamburger man. It is consistent with what we heard in here. Walters. It is consistent, sir, a Democratic Labour Party that spurns investment in the renewable energy sector. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, Barbados, as I say, has to decide. Because if that is the policy of the party, then, sir, it is a policy that, if they wish to run on, I would advise the people of Barbados that it is a policy that they should run from. If that's what they wish to run on, I would advise the people of Barbados that they should run from it. And equally, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Barbados Labour Party policy is very clear. We intend to turn away from fossils, and happily, a fossil left us and went elsewhere, and we intend to turn away from fossil fuel. We do not intend, Mr. Speaker, sir, to do anything other than continue the journey towards building a resilient, yes, I will not shy away from using the word, and sustainable economy and society. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, where's the investment that they contend is wasteful and unnecessary. Because I've never come across anywhere in the catalog, sir, of human history that people who are in political office have the temerity and the absolute gall, Mr. Speaker, to say that there should be no investment to the benefit of the people that they seek to represent. Well, I've never heard it. The Democratic Labour Party, sir, plumbs new depths every day. And where's the investment that we're talking about, Mr. Speaker, sir? Let's start with the public transportation sector. We came to office, sir, and found 36 old diesel buses. I stand next to the honourable member who was the first transport minister and after the 2018 avalanche, sir. 36 old diesel buses. And you will recall, Mr. Speaker, sir, you are aging, but you are not, you're getting older, but you're not getting colder. You will remember, Mr. Speaker, sir, the WhatsApp that went around. It wasn't the meme. It was a recording of a passenger sitting on a public transport board bus. The bus had a hole in the bottom of it. And he recorded, sir, you could see the road. He's sitting down in a, presumably, or standing, I don't know which one. And you could see, sir, that the whole flooring of the bus had rotten away. A bus with a hole in it, sir, on the streets of Barbados, offering services to the public, the traveling public of Barbados. That is the Democratic Labour Party's record that the honourable member has rushed to embrace. I talked last week about standards, Mr. Speaker, sir. You could tell a lot about what honourable members think are appropriate standards by the way in which they embrace certain things. That is what he went to embrace. Diesel buses that were falling apart. I have never heard the honourable member part his lips to speak against that. Where are we today? They say we should not have any investment. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, before I get to the investment, I give you more time. I noticed the hand trembling as he tries frantically to send out WhatsApps. SOS, help me, please. SOS, save our souls. Help me, please. I know nothing about this sector. Somebody help me. Hold it close with two hands so that you don't drop the phone on the ground, my friend. Hold it close. Mr. Speaker, sir, 89 electric buses are on the roads of Barbados today. We put them there in 7 years to transform the service given to the people of Barbados. And there are 35 more on the way, Mr. Speaker, sir, as opposed to 36 diesel breakdown things. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that is only the public transportation sector owned by the government. We also have, if you want to understand why we need to have heavy investment, because any right-thinking member of this place or the other place, and if they were used to do any homework when the night come, apart from strategize on who to curse next and how bad that person is to be cursed, if they did any strategizing, Mr. Speaker, sir, they would know that in addition to the transport board buses, the PSV operators, whether it's a ZR or a minibus, must also be transformed as well. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, it means, therefore, that government has to find the investment in order to assist many of those operators, if not all, in being able to source what may well have to be concessionary type financing in order to change out that which they now have and to bring in hybrids and electrics, sir, so that we can continue to pull them off of the reliance of imported fossil fuel, which is draining the economy of Barbados, sir, to the tune of what I just gave you last year, sir, was $500 million in the first 6 months. We don't have any control over those prices, Mr. Speaker, sir. If a shot let go 200 miles, 300 miles off the coast of Barbados, one shot, oil prices will go sky high. One shot off the coast of Venezuela. We have no control over these things, Mr. Speaker, sir. What we have control over is how we restructure our affairs. And therefore, it is an insult to the people of this country that a man drawing, even if it is only a senatorial stipend from the taxpayers of Barbados, could be uttering such foolishness and allowed to continue to serve in the Senate. Well, the first thing that the leader should have done is to call him in and relieve him of the burden. Tell the star, no, man, you perhaps need to go back to the burger place, boy. Don't tell me he can't fire a senator. He did one already. Only thing he fired the wrong one, and for the wrong reason. Because at least that senator understood a little bit about the energy sector we're talking about today. He would not be sending out frantic SOS calls on his phone now. He would have been able to say, well, help me a little bit here. But he burnt that bridge too. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are 110,000 vehicles on the roads of Barbados. Privately owned motor cars, privately owned vehicles, trucks, etc., that also have to be transitioned, sir. There's discussion going on in the industry as we speak, sir, about all the various angles that can be taken in order to achieve this. And there is an investment plan. I can talk about that too. There's an investment plan that this government has put out there. It is not to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this is done in secret or that you don't know. All you got to do is to read. All you have to be willing to do is to do a little reading. Well, yes, the Honourable Member for St. Thomas is right, because it's pointless reading if you don't have the understanding. You're doubly cursed. You haven't read, and even if you did read, you don't have the understanding. But the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, get some boy, read it to you and explain it. Or help him. It's on the line, you can pull it down. Not that long, just about 100 pages. You won't find Othello in there. You won't find Julius Caesar in there. You won't find Polonius in there. You won't find any history of men who died 10,000 years ago. But what you will find, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there is an energy transition plan structured by the government of Barbados with the specific intention of guiding the public of Barbados and potential investors in this country, whether those investors are foreign or domestic, Mr. Speaker, as to where and how they may wish to do their investment and what kind of money is anticipated. It is anticipated that we are looking at. So that, Mr. Speaker, sir, things, therefore, like investment in battery storage and battery recycling, critical components. Because if you understand what's happening around the world, Mr. Speaker, sir, when the EV battery is run down, there are now people who are not just tossing it anymore, they're now trying to do recycling. And if we as a country stop talking foolishness about having less investment, but rather understand that it is a glorious opportunity to train some of our young people so that in addition to the investment, you have job skills and job training for new sectors, new opportunities for employment, sir, then things like the recycling are things that we have to be doing. But Mr. Speaker, sir, I spoke earlier about the level of anger I felt on this question of the abject untruth about our treatment of homeowners. I came to this House, sir, on the issue of the householders' right to renewable energy. I piloted the bill in this place. You were in the chair, Mr. Speaker, sir. And what was it about? It was because of the fact that we stood and we watched what was happening, that people with large pockets, deep pockets, stretching down to the ankle, were able to say, look, I can put how much ever amount of money into an investment. And so they had gone full steam ahead. And they were getting preferential treatment above and beyond the ordinary man who was struggling to refinance a mortgage in order to make sure that he could get a little $20,000 to put the PV on his roof, or a little $15,000 to get the PV on his roof. And we said, no, let us fast track some of these ordinary people, because the island's small. The island is not getting any larger, sir. So therefore, there is going to come to a point where there's only so much solar photovoltaic that can go onto our grid. And in the circumstances then, there was no battery storage either. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, you can't just keep pumping more and more renewable energy onto the grid. You have to have battery storage to complement it. And we said, look, let us make sure that we democratize. Hear the word. We democratize this process so that as we create a new sector, we do not once again commit the failed practice, the practice that I, Kerry Simmons, despise, of placing all the opportunity in a new sector in the hands, Mr. Speaker, sir, of those players with large pockets, where the ordinary Barbadian is left to stand by and watch people walk the streets with gold. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, we did that. We did that when we were a sugar-based economy. That was the nature of the sugar plantation, Mr. Speaker, sir. They had some who were wealthy beyond measure and beyond belief, and there was a vast majority with nothing, In fact, sir, the laws of the country were so structured that you were nothing either. You were chattel, goods to be bought and sold. Your ancestors and mine and the honorable leader of the oppositions. Mr. Speaker, sir, then we transitioned from that agrarian-based economy and had a tourism sector-based economy. And again, Mr. Speaker, sir, the haves in the tourism sector, Mr. Speaker, have plenty. And there are others, sir, who are in the tourism sector, day and night toiling, and they do nothing but the most menial of tasks. The society and economy must be democratized. Mr. Speaker, sir, we then turn away, not completely from tourism, but we introduce a new sector, international financial services, driving multiple millions of dollars. And again, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are those who are replete with splendor. And others, Mr. Speaker, sir, as he goes behind the Speaker's throne now to get information because he came here bankrupt of knowledge, bankrupt of understanding, armed only with an intent, Mr. Speaker, sir, to humbug the government in here with foolishness that is irrelevant. I hope I have not attributed improper motives to him. I speak on a historical record. Mr. Speaker, sir, the international financial services sector was the same thing. It had the same definitions. And the society can only continue without having massive convulsion for so long if it is that we go this route all the time. So yes, as Minister of Energy, I felt it was important to take steps, sir, for us to be democratizing energy opportunity in Barbados. And we came with the householders' right to renewable energy. Now, there are obviously those players who didn't fancy it. And there are those people who chose not to move with great alacrity on sourcing the battery storage, which is absolutely critical to support new investments coming on stream. Do not fool yourself for 5 minutes, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there are not multimillionaires in Barbados who feel hard done by when they're told that they have to share this new pie with ordinary black-skinned boys and girls in Fitz Village and in Redmond Village and in Hoyts Village, Mr. Speaker, sir. They may not say that to you directly, but they feel hard done by. But government has to intervene in order to ensure balance and fairness in the economy. And I will not apologize for saying that it is an abject and complete untruth. It is a basic, baseless, and malicious untruth to suggest that this government, sir, did not go where no other government in the Eastern Caribbean has gone, which is to say that we will fast-track householders, sir, to the best of our ability and give them an automaticity, an automatic right to renewable energy. Not that you got to wait in line for any committee to meet and then determine that you could get or you can't get. What was the criteria, Mr. Speaker, sir? That you go to the Ministry of Energy and you give them your name. You go to the Ministry of Energy, you produce an ID, Mr. Speaker, sir. You give them your contact information, show them your light bill, which is proof of the fact that the name and the ID suit and meet, correspond with the light bill. And Mr. Speaker, sir, give us a measurement of your roof size and the system size that you want to put on top of the roof. 2.5 kilowatts, 5 kilowatts, 10 kilowatts, what it may be, and then you were automatically positioned to get the license. There's no other government in the Eastern Caribbean that has done that, sir. Not one. Not one. And the miscreants in the Democratic Labour Party, unread, unprepared, disinterested, indifferent, incapable, parading up and down, that they want power to do what? To do what, Mr. Speaker, sir? When the wicked carried us away in captivity, they required of us a song. But how do you sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And that is the land they want to create. A strange land, Mr. Speaker. We are bred and born in Barbados. If you're in Oistins, you should not benefit from $5 million in capital investment in Oistin. If you're about Barbados as an ordinary man with a board and shingle house, you should not get any renewable energy opportunity, and you should not be fast-tracked. If our bar had not been burnt and his ashes scattered, Mr. Speaker, sir, he would be turning somersaults in his grave. Came back today, he wouldn't recognize the party he formed. Couldn't. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, today we have 107 megawatts of solar PV on our grid. And it is true, we have about 300 more waiting to be processed. And as strongly as I feel about the fact that we need to go further and faster, and I also feel strongly about the fact that I know in my heart of hearts that there are those out there who have not necessarily been as cooperative with the government as they should be. I also appreciate, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there are some sincere challenges. My friend, the honourable member for Christchurch West, when I was minister, used to come to the point with me where we would play good cop and bad cop. There's a fact. We still do. He would say some of the most direct things to the utility in an effort, sir, to get that foreign-owned entity to respond to Barbadians in the way that we need them to respond. And I, Mr. Speaker, sir, would have them to try to placate and say, but he is right, but you're only driving him now to the place where he can behave even worse. At least try to meet us halfway, man. Many times we did that in the discussions. Mr. Speaker, sir, but one of the challenges we have is that there was no regulatory environment. Oh, you are an attorney at law. I don't have to tell you. You know. Sir, you could not do anything. You could come to pass a piece of legislation in Barbados. But then if there are no regulations to the legislation that prescribe how individuals are supposed to do certain things, when they are to do those things, how they go about doing those things, who they answer to, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, you have done nothing. The Democratic Labour Party passed on a government to us in which the energy sector had no regulatory environment. I say it again, there was not a single regulation. The leader of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, an attorney at law by profession, must understand the significance of that. He has never gone on record in this House, never parted lips in this House where the people sent him, sir, to speak to the absence of the regulatory environment, sir, to speak to the chronic failure of the Democratic Labour Party government, but he rushed to embrace those who failed the people of Barbados. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, sir, another real challenge was that we need to have new legislation that speaks, or needed to have new legislation that spoke to critical technologies. And let me say to you again, Mr. Speaker, sir, what are some of the critical technologies? Because we're talking about a renewable energy sector that the government of Barbados is building from ground up. And yes, we may have greater solar penetration than any other country in the Eastern Caribbean. Yes, we have a larger renewable energy bus fleet than any other country in the Eastern Caribbean. Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, we can point to achievement, but what we cannot be is complacent about the fact that we are building a sector from the ground zero up, and that it takes time and it takes effort. What are some of the issues? You can't talk about battery renewable energy, Mr. Speaker, solar photovoltaics, or wind energy. They're intermittent. There ain't always a windy day. There's not always a sunny day. Today, sir, is a sunny day. And if you had a solar PV system, your roof or whatever, wherever it's mounted, will be generating energy. But there's going to be no sunshine tonight. And so therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, the energy generated now, if it is to be used purposefully, would have to be used and stored somewhere, Mr. Speaker, so that the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, when she get on tonight and flip the switch, could be able to have power dispatched to her residence so that she could get the benefit of that which was stored. And you want to have that, sir, in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital so that the surgeons who are operating tonight doing an emergency surgery, sir, will not be in a situation where they ain't got the power that has to be dispatched to them, and so on and so forth around the island. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, how do you store the electricity if you don't have any batteries to store them in? How do you store the power generated if you don't have any batteries? Battery storage, I said on the floor of this House before, and I say again, had been a major challenge to us. And the regulatory environment on what we do with regard to battery storage, sir, what are the conditions that they are kept in, who is licensed, and how you get a license for battery storage, what are the requirements of the battery storage operator, sir. All of that is silent because there was no regulatory environment to govern any of those things when we took office. We had to build that out from ground up. Mr. Speaker, sir, when done, you have to decommission these things. How do you go about decommissioning it? Hold your head, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Hold your head like if you got a migraine. Not that you have a migraine, it's that you were absent of thought. And these things are now colliding with the four corners of your head. You should have known it. If you were interested in leading the country, you would have put yourself in a situation where you were prepared. Hold your belly and bawl. I will not run away from confronting you with the policy issues that you shy away from. You could curse all through the night, I don't care. Go all about Barbados cursing. You come in here, you can hold your belly and bawl. So slacken your tie, loosen your belt, shift from cheek to cheek and get comfortable. Call it no start. Mr. Speaker, sir, ownership and operation of microgrids all around the world now. The renewable energy phenomenon is allowing people to detach themselves from reliance on the utility, in this case, the Barbados Light and Power. These things are not being discussed in Barbados because the Democratic Labour Party and their minions and acolytes on the airwaves don't want to talk about that. They want to treat this country as though it's 1960, 1966, or 1965, Mr. Speaker. So let us have a discussion about the water flowing at the standpipe. People around the world are detaching themselves from reliance on a utility. People around the world, Mr. Speaker, sir, let us use a district in Barbados, a place like Coverley and Christchurch, where you could have your own grid. And within that district, Mr. Speaker, sir, electricity is being produced and dispatched from place to place within the community. And not a fella connected to the light and power. That doesn't happen now. But that's happening elsewhere. And our purpose and aim, if we are to emancipate this country from reliance on a utility that is not moving satisfactorily quickly in defense of the interests of the people, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the microgrid technology. But there was not a single piece of regulatory work done on it. I know wherever I speak, because these are the things I had to confront and start when I was a minister, Mr. Speaker. I know wherever I speak. And then the sale, dispatch, and supply via the microgrids. Wireless transmission of electricity, sir. Every year, at this time of year, and beginning from June or thereabouts, all of us sit down and say, oh Lord, please spare us. We don't want the big storm to come through. And every day, we drive from point A to point B in Barbados, and we pass wires in the sky on some old poles that the utility refuses to change out. The old poles that I saw outside my house, Mr. Speaker, sir, when a little boy, still there. Not a change to it. It may be leaning like the Tower of Pizza, but it's still there. Some of them weren't eaten, still there. And around the world, Mr. Speaker, sir, people are moving to wireless transmission via a grid that facilitates that. Not a word comes out of the Democratic Labour Party on what the future of Barbados will look like in these regards. Why? Why is it that there is only one voice in the country, sir? The people's choice voice. I know why. Because, as I told you, there's a loud whisper going around the community. When Labour leads, Bajans succeed. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, we had to create a regulatory environment to allow for these things, to allow us to take that next step into what the future of Barbados must look like. And therefore, sir, we had to come with a vision and a plan. It isn't anything that is hidden, Mr. Speaker, sir. I invite any honourable member or anyone within the sound of my voice being carried, sir, outside of this chamber, to go and look at the Energy Transition Investment Plan. That the honourable member, sir, looks stargaze, looks as though this is new to him, looks as though, Mr. Speaker, sir, he ain't had a clue that these things was happening. It's not my fault. There is more to it than putting on a pair of old slippers, failing to cream your foot so that you assume an appearance of being impoverished, and walking about in somebody's constituency. Hide the $200,000 motor car under a tree and walk about. When done, get the $200,000 motor car, turn on the air condition, and back to life as usual. Don't get vexed. I say nothing but truth. I say nothing but truth. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, we also had to create a regulatory environment to allow for independent power producers in Barbados. Independent people, not the government, not the utility. You're a member for Christchurch West. You're a member for Christchurch South, St. James South, and others who say, I want to produce my own electricity. And I want, Mr. Speaker, to store my own electricity. And I want, Mr. Speaker, sir, to sell it. And as I indicated, Mr. Speaker, there are some who know looking at microgrids, all independently of the utility. But beyond those challenges, Mr. Speaker, sir, government also had to confront some structural issues because there was, in fact, a slow pace of accessing storage and ability to access it at practical cost. I was the second of the energy ministers in this administration. The honourable member for Christchurch East was the first. And he, sir, would have confronted the question of the fact that we moved the world, sir. In fact, it may have been more me than him. The Russia-Ukraine war started and during my time. And every country on planet Earth, bar none, sir, sat up and realized that oil prices, as I say, had climbed astronomically. Why? Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, the whole of Europe, virtually every country in Europe, is reliant on natural gas from Russia. And they had to wean themselves off of that quickly. Europe is clearly against the war. Russia used access to gas as a political lever. Keep one mouth shut, or I will shut off the gas pipe. Europe said, oh Lord, we can't rely on them, we got to get gas from somewhere. And as we all do, we turn to our friends in the United States of America, or those who we hope to be our friends in the United States of America. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the United States of America says, look, well, this is an unprecedented pot of gold. I can sell all the gas that we have to the Europeans. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Let us marshal all that we can move. But then you got some little specks in the Caribbean Sea named St. Lucia and Barbados and Dominica and St. Vincent and Grenada. Little specks. Dominica got 70,000 people. Barbados struggling with 260 or 270, and so on and so forth. And you know what we were told, Mr. Speaker, sir? The same thing we were told in COVID. Boy, we would love to help you, but you order small. We got to deal with the big ones first. So you can stand back and wait. The Democratic Labour Party, sir, does not raise its voice. I ain't asking for the boy to help the government. I'm asking for a voice to be raised on matters of principle. When the government of Barbados and the governments of this region stand together on issues, sir, that threaten the well-being socially and economically of the people of the Caribbean, the Democratic Labour Party, sir, remains silent. No collaboration under this administration. It is possible, sir, to hate the Prime Minister more than you love your country. It is possible to hate the Prime Minister more than you love your country. Then the other concern we have, Mr. Speaker, sir, is what can only be called the lag of the regulator. Regulatory lag. The slowness of the regulator. And I am always very loath to speak to this issue. But as I am going to be candid with the House, and as the leader of the opposition wants to beg for a tutorial, he will get one. The government, Mr. Speaker, sir, has, first of all, no interest in being in any position where we are seen to be determining the actions of the regulator or directing the regulator to do anything. If we did that, Mr. Speaker, sir, we would be told that we are being arbitrary, we are being discretionary, we are being unreasonable. That has a special meaning in law, as you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, and that it is an improper administrative act encroaching or in an area by the minister that the minister should not be in. There's one thing the leader of the opposition and I will agree on. He would get up and say so. He would get up and say so. Doesn't usually have much to say on anything, but the little bit of admin law that he got in his head, he was saying, that's an opportunity now for me to score some points. They're acting in an arbitrary way, and I know the law. And he would be wanting, sir, to quote some of the landmark cases. For example, Lord Diplock and the Council of Civil Service Unions, Mr. Speaker, sir. He would want to be quoting Lord Diplock. I don't think, Mr. Speaker, sir, that he would miss an opportunity to go to England. Equally, sir, I think there's a case in Jamaica in 1973, I believe it is, Kingston Wharves and the Port Authority, where the Port Authority was empowered to determine what would be a fair return on investment for the investor. And the court held it was not the role or the purview of a minister or any entity other than the port to get into that. And the minister can't come into those matters and replace the Port Authority with his own interests and his own opinions. We will be hearing all of that law, and it is good law. So the government has no interest in getting into that with the FTC. That is the regulator. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, the regulator, therefore, it is correct to say, has to be treated as independent, and respectfully so, we have to accept its quasi-judicial role. But we all feel the agony, sir. The regulator taking too long. You hear it all around Barbados. The regulator conducting studies and assessing models. Mr. Speaker, sir, the regulator is working with us in building a sector from the ground up. And let us understand why it is necessary, sir, that while we may want to have faster movement, government has to be mindful of the balance that the regulator must have with regard to public welfare and well-being. Public well-being, on one hand, has to be balanced against the financial interests of an investor on the other. And I give you an example of what I'm speaking about, Mr. Speaker. Wind energy has to be part of the energy mix in Barbados. Not much talk is done about it. Again, we do not expect much talk to be done about it coming from a Democratic Labour Party, sir, because we understand that there's no intellectual work being done there. But there has to be an energy mix in the country. It can't only be that everybody going down the road with the fossil fuel, with the photovoltaics. There are other technologies which we would wish to deploy. Photovoltaics is intermittent. There are others, sir, which can support, even though they too are intermittent. Wind is one of them. But what are the public welfare considerations that the regulator has to look at? Sir, when you're talking about wind energy, Mr. Speaker, sir, first thing you got to do is to have a study so as to ensure that if I say that this landmark area that you want to put the investment in is appropriate for the investment, that the public, sir, will not be disadvantaged because there is, in fact, an inappropriate area placed for wind to be generated, and they're generating it, sir, at a consequential, because it is inappropriate, they're generating it at a cost that is hurting the pocket of the public. So you do the wind study. But the wind study, Mr. Speaker, sir, has to run for 12 months. Anywhere in the world that you're doing a wind study, it got to be 12 months. So there's no way in which you can make 12 months 6 because you want the regulator to go faster. There's no way, Mr. Speaker, so that you can make 12 months 3 because you want the regulator to get through the process faster. And the regulator, based on the study, must also then have other considerations of a public welfare nature. What is the environmental impact? I'm going to kill birds. It keeping too much noise. How close are houses to it? Are there public health considerations? The height of the mast, is it going to interfere with aircraft? Mr. Speaker?
Sound like a planner, man.
Huh?
You sound like a planner.
Well, I don't have to be the planner. I was the minister. I understand it. That's why we helped the honourable member from Christchurch South. Because he came in here unprepared, but in a spirit where nobody is supposed to question him. He liked to have it his way. Come in here, holler at people. He will be heard in silence. And if you don't hear it, you can walk out. Well, you can walk out today, but you will hear public policy on energy today. And if it sticks in your craw, you will hear it. I hope it don't hang you like a fish bone. Because I want you to live a little longer. You got to take more lashes, public policy lashes. The electoral lashes will come. Don't get worried. They will come. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, those are the considerations that we have to be dealing with when it comes to the question of the regulator and the regulatory lag. So government, sir, in my judgment, does not have any interest at all and cannot be in any way inclined to follow the prescripts of the Democratic Labour Party, and that we should, to quote the Honourable Senator in the other place, hold back. I ain't holding back none, Mr. Speaker, sir. Let us get that clear. The Democratic Labour Party, sir, failed to make hay while sun shine, while sun shone. They brought the first effort at a new piece of legislation for the electricity sector. The honourable member for Christchurch East would have had to have inherited that piece of legislation. He will bear me out, sir. It was bereft of any regulatory environment. It was unfit for purpose. It was a rush job, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we can report today that we have the new regulations to the Electricity Supply Act, and that from October 2025, where we are now, Barbados is now ready, Mr. Speaker, sir, to publish its first request for proposals for battery energy storage in this country. We moved from ground zero, Mr. Speaker, sir. And yes, it has been a hard slog. Yes, it has taken time. But we have done where there was a defect in the regulatory environment, we have cured it. Where there was a need, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, to facilitate in law the opportunity, sir, to have a request for proposals for battery energy storage, we have done that. And we can now publish Barbados next week, the first request for proposals. I believe it is next week. Don't hold me to that, sir, because I am not the minister. My understanding is that it should be about next week. Mr. Speaker, sir, what are we asking for? We're going to be asking for 60 megawatts of energy storage, which is at one time the first, let me repeat it again so that the gentleman on the other side can hear and digest. It's coming on to just after 12. I don't want to give him indigestion, sir, but his belly has to learn to take it. It is the first of its kind in the Eastern Caribbean. Where Labour leads, Mr. Speaker, sir, the people succeed. The first of its kind in the Caribbean, 60 megawatts procurement for battery storage, first in CARICOM. Mr. Speaker, sir, the model is being used by the rest of CARICOM. And the Caribbean Development Bank, sir, has indicated a willingness to help us, sir, by lending assistance to the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency as we complete that step. I spoke about wind energy, Mr. Speaker, sir. Also, an area not spoken to by the opposition. Though they want power, they do not want to be anything other than selective in what they bring to the people. Perhaps, sir, they would want to know that on the 18th of November, Mr. Speaker, sir, Barbados will see the expected launch of $180 million wind energy project at Lambert, St. Lucie. Originally, Mr. Speaker, sir, that project, when conceptualized, was about 10 megawatts. I believe the honourable member for Christchurch East will recall those days. It has now been scaled up to 50 megawatts, Mr. Speaker, sir, and investors still looking to come on board because there is an element of confidence creeping into the Barbados economy, an element of confidence, sir, that is reflected only this weekend when the credit rating of the country was carried to B+, sir. They don't want to talk about that. If it had been taken down, we would have heard the leader of the opposition all weekend. It carried up. He does not have it within him to be magnanimous enough on behalf of the people of Barbados, of whom he numbers one, to say, well done, thou good and faithful servants. So that, Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to wind energy, we first broke ground in this sector, I think it was at Guinea and St. John, where there was a small project, 1 megawatt. That is the first onshore project that was done, again, under this government. Then, Mr. Speaker, sir, we now come to the large one, which will be at Lambert, and that is $180 million in investment, likely to be 60 megawatts, again, of wind being generated. And I am advised that the power purchase agreement for Lambert is now completed, and embedded, Mr. Speaker, in that process will be another effort at democratizing renewable energy investment opportunity for the people of Barbados. The pledge of the Barbados Labour Party, sir, in energy is that we would take the ordinary citizen on this journey of energy transition and transformation with us. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say again, it is our determination that we will avoid the practice of economic alienation that we saw when agriculture was king, when sugar was king, that we saw when tourism was the only other player, that we saw when international financial services came on board, Mr. Speaker, sir, and therefore we now come to the point where we are now going to come to the point where we create another method of democratizing this energy sector. What is that method, Mr. Speaker? The Ministry of Finance will soon come to this place with a piece of legislation to create and regulate a unit trust in Barbados. What is the unit trust going to be doing? First of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, it will be open to investors of all types. The cashier who working in the supermarket, sir, the lawyers in your law chambers, sir, the operators of public service vehicles, sir, whosoever will. Even the opposition, though he has no interest in resilience in our economy, though he has poo-pooed the idea of a sustainable economy, I suspect, knowing him, that he will not miss the opportunity to look after his pocket, and so he may be one of the first to come to the unit trust. And he will be welcome. This is a government that places no barriers in the way of our people, howsoever badly they behave. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is an opportunity to pool resources. Pool resources. Investors in the unit trust, sir, are not shareholders, they are beneficiaries. So this isn't about no corporate nothing. This is no, you, the individual, are a beneficiary. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the fund is managed professionally, and the investment, sir, the investment goals will have to be defined, the objectives are defined, and obviously, sir, there is a trustee who holds the fund manager accountable. The utility, Mr. Speaker, sir, has committed to the purchase of the power generated in the wind energy project. $180+ million in investment, Mr. Speaker, sir, supported by letter of credit from the Caribbean Development Bank. It is an unprecedented opportunity for all Barbadians, sir, to play a role in the energy sector. We are not just handing it to big investors, sir, who can come. There are some in the world who could come and put $180 million on the table and say, that is a for pocket. You know the for pocket in your suit, sir, the little small thing? That's the for pocket money that you want. Here, let me control the whole sector. We say no. We say there must be a role for everybody, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we say that we will democratize the sector. And wherever the opportunity arises, we continue to democratize the sector. We do not speak to this sector in silence, Mr. Speaker. We speak to this silence with a vision, this sector with a vision. We speak to this sector with a purpose. We speak to this sector with a determination to carry ordinary Barbadians along the journey with us. And we urge the Democratic Labour Party to get serious about it. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I talked about the energy transition and investment plan. And it is a simple thing. You go to the plan, sir, and you see it mapped out for you. Barbados needs ABC. Barbados expects XYZ level investment in sector ABC. So if it is housing and construction, what is the vision? How many houses are we looking to build? What is the likelihood, Mr. Speaker, sir, of a cost being able to be anticipated? You anticipate the cost. That is where, sir, you see if you're interested in making an investment in the energy sector, in housing, then construction, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, you know where to go. Transportation. What is it that we're looking to do? We have the EV buses. We want to have flex fuels for our motor cars. We also want to have more electric vehicles. We want to have more hybrids. We also have another subsector in there, Mr. Speaker. Again, you hear nothing from the Democratic Labour Party. But you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there are around the world, and indeed in Barbados, you already see some business popping up in it, where you are putting the power charging stations in place because people must refuel their charging infrastructure must be there to charge the car. That is an ideal sector, Mr. Speaker, for smaller players in the economy to participate. Job opportunities, business creation, new green jobs, sir. In every country where people seriously discuss productivity, these are the things that are being discussed. Yes, honorable member, do not raise your eyebrow in shock and surprise. Yes, read an Economist magazine, turn on CNN, do something to make yourself familiar with what's happening around the world. But the party he leads, sir, bankrupt of ideas and policy. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, that energy transition investment plan now touches every sector of the Barbados economy. I urge him to go and have a look at it and to educate himself. It is called, loosely, sir, it is called the ETIP model. And I'm happy to say, sir, as the country's foreign minister, that the ETIP model is now recognized as an investor's best practice guide for all category of investor, whether the small domestic player, because we are now known as a country that is leading the renewable energy charge by carrying along the smallest of our citizens, as well as the largest of our citizens, as well as the foreign investing community, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is seen as an investment best practice and is cited now in energy fora globally. Globally. The honourable member likes to come in here and castigate the Prime Minister for flying boat, as though she's joyriding, picnicking and partying, according to him. But when you are able to have an energy transition investment plan in a world where everybody, bar none, I shouldn't say everybody except the Democratic Labour Party and Mr. Trump, are seeing the importance of the renewable energy environment, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, in that world, you want to be able to position Barbados that when people talking about the way of the future, they talk about the Barbados model. It's the first time that we've succeeded in doing that. Anybody who has had to do any wage negotiations understands the importance of what they call the social partnership of Barbados. That we are the country that showed the world that you bring a private sector together with the public sector, together with the trade unions in a tripartite environment. The Minister of Labour, sir, every time he goes to Geneva or anywhere else on business, is regaled as being the representative of the country that led the world with a social partnership model. That has been the experience of the honourable member for St. James North when he served as ambassador in Geneva. Hold up your head, man. I know it is burdensome to have to take the lash, but I do this only to help you. Don't look at your watch, because I no start. Don't look at your watch. It doesn't make sense looking at your watch, because I no start. Your problem is, his problem is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that he doesn't understand that the people of Barbados have been through the rain. They went through the fire, they went through the rain, and they have no desire, Mr. Speaker, sir, to go back again. You don't understand that, sir? Huh? 10 years of pain. Huh? Yeah, that too. I don't know if you've heard that, Mr. Speaker, sir, being sung on the street corners of Barbados. Huh? I've been through the fire. I've been through the rain. I have no desire to go back again. The little children dance to it now, Mr. Speaker, sir. Huh? Nobody wants to walk on a bed of thorns. Barefoot on a bed of thorns. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, I understand if the energy transition investment plan is not read by them, not understood by them, but it is, despite them, sir, it exists and it is a vital roadmap. And it is a roadmap, sir, that has nothing to do with their policy of holding back. I've never heard so much foolishness in my life. Hold back? Hold back what? The Energy Transition Investment Plan, Mr. Speaker, sir, speaks to this country in the context of cost-benefit analysis. If you do nothing, like the senator in the Democratic Labour Party has asked us to do, they tell you what the consequences will be, as opposed to acting in accordance with the investment plan. So that, for example, Mr. Speaker, sir, they use solar and wind energy as the model for the future. Barbados saves $16 billion between now and the year 2035. That is the projected savings to our economy, Mr. Speaker, sir. $16 billion with a B. And those people on the other side will tell you, sir, that we should hold back. $16 billion to be saved by continuing the way we are going in advancing energy security for this country, in cutting off our dependency on foreign exchange, on foreign imports, and our expenditure, sir, of foreign exchange, subject to the wild and outrageous fluctuations in prices, simply because somebody had a falling out in the Middle East, simply because somebody wants power in Europe. And we and our people have to pay that penalty, Mr. Speaker, sir. In other words, that we would be in an economy where it is 37% less expensive. That is the projection of the Energy Transition Investment Plan. In fact, now I think of it, sir, I believe, sir, that the honourable member may have read it. But such is the nature of the projection. So beneficial is it, and supportive of the purpose of the government is it, that he prefers to treat it as though it does not exist. The plan speaks, sir, to the driving of investment to the tune of $19 to $20 billion in new investment, sir. $19 to $20 billion in new investment, creating an estimated 1,500 jobs between now and the year 2035, sir. Green jobs. They believe, and obviously these people are anticipating and they're looking at what we have done historically and looking at what is projected for the future, all things being equal. They can't give a prophecy. They can only give a prediction, sir. They believe, sir, that as against the business as usual scenario, we will be able to increase the rate of jobs in this country by 50%, 50. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, how does an opposition go into the other place and talk about holding back? If there's any entity, any sector to benefit in Barbados from this effort in renewable energy, it must be our young people. It must be the people who will be the generation of tomorrow. Jobs are being created in renewable energy today, sir, that did not exist when you came into this parliament. Jobs are being created in renewable energy, Mr. Speaker, sir, that did not exist. You hear what I tell you? When you walk up them stairs for the first time. So now, sir, we can talk to our young people and in school, and we can urge them in a direction of what the future would look like. Microgrid design. You know any microgrid designers, sir? Have you ever met one? I would wager not. Wind turbine technicians. Your Honourable Leader of the Opposition, you could send him down through Bridgetown, up and down. Ask him to find a wind turbine technician in Barbados. You find it amusing? He finds it amusing, Mr. Speaker, sir, because he basks in a lack of intelligence on the matter. There's no forward planning, there's no forward vision, there's no anticipation of what tomorrow will hold or what tomorrow will require. It is coming in here and skinning your mouth like a hyena. Yes, sir, they got some people who are now well advanced in PV, solar PV maintenance. But energy auditors, Mr. Speaker, sir, EV maintenance and repair, rapidly unfolding area. And then, Mr. Speaker, sir, especially because the leader of the opposition so hates the word resilience and so is so contemptuous of building a sustainable economy and society. He calls it, well, fancy words, meaningless fancy words. That's what we get here and call it, Mr. Speaker, sir. So it may surprise him that at universities now, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are degrees in energy, carbon management, sustainability reporting, critical, sir, for the development of industry of the future. How can you be bringing in 60 megawatts and more of battery storage, but you don't have battery storage specialists? Yeah. We don't have any in Barbados. So that is why you have to be constantly looking abroad for new skills, and why you have to be constantly reinvesting in your young people to build out new skill sets. As the nature of your economy transitions, Mr. Speaker, air pollution engineering. This country don't talk about modeling carbon markets. You don't hear anything of this from the leader of the opposition. But, sir, that is the government that we have, and this is the burden we have to carry, that you can only have serious discussion by yourself. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, the energy transition plan, therefore, is all about spurring investment and mobilizing both domestic and international capital in order to help us get to the benefit of that transition. Now, sir, you can't have this conversation seriously and sensibly without also spending a little bit of time, and I see the Honourable Minister of Finance enter the room, without spending a little bit of time, sir, on understanding, sir, the nature of the role of international public financing on this matter. We, sir, as a government, have sought to partner with multilateral development banks, sir. We have sought, Mr. Speaker, sir, to partner with legitimate climate funds, NGO groupings, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have sought, Mr. Speaker, sir, to lead in conjunction with the United States USAID in the creation of a blue-green bank for Barbados. I have a duty, Mr. Speaker, sir, because, you know, the honourable member feels that this is something to make sport at. The things that I just said, sir, is what the government has been trying to do. Your House needs to know, Mr. Speaker, sir, that on the 29th day of August this year, the White House issued something called a pocket rescission package notification. I am prepared to make it a document of this House. It says, sir, and I quote, "The Trump administration is committed to getting America's fiscal house in order by cutting government spending that is woke, weaponized, and wasteful. For the first time in 50 years, the president is using his authority under the Impoundment Control Act to cancel $5 billion in international organization funding and foreign aid that violates America First priorities." This is coming from the White House, sir. Examples of what the rescinded accounts fund are the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID Development Assistance. The Development Assistance account was established to fund programs that work to end poverty in the developing world. However, the account has come to bankroll initiatives that are antithetical to American values and represent the worst of USAID's woke excesses. This account has been used to fund radical leftist priorities. Examples include $400 million per year for climate projects like a partnership with the Green Climate Fund, partnership for the Barbados Blue-Green Bank for climate mitigation, $650,000 for micro-insurance for smallhold farmers and micro-businesses in Colombia for climate disaster response, $24 million to build climate resilience in Honduras, $30 million for biodiversity protection in West Africa. And I pause there, Mr. Speaker, sir. That, sir, on the 29th of August was issued by the White House this year. No, sir, I don't own any or operate any news station in this country. I don't function as a host on any or moderator on any call-in program. And I most certainly don't lead any opposition party, let alone the major opposition party in Barbados. But if I did, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would feel a certain sense of moral compulsion to raise my voice, sir, not to support government alone, not to support the region where I live alone, but, Mr. Speaker, sir, to raise my voice in support of the justice of a cause. As I stand before the House, Mr. Speaker, Jamaica is being ravished by a storm that this morning was described as a monster, packing 175 miles per hour winds consistently with gusts going in excess of 220 miles an hour. 185 now, I am told. Second strongest in the Atlantic history, Mr. Speaker, sir. This, sir, is a question where people must take a position. It is all well and good to treat to these things with laughter, treat to the energy sector's ability to build out resilience in our economy with laughter, treat to the sustainability requirement of Barbados with laughter, Mr. Speaker, sir. But if that is all you have to offer, even in the teeth of the monster that is destroying Jamaica as we speak, sir, a storm that even before it landed had caused the death of at least 3 people. If that is all you have to offer, Mr. Speaker, sir, then you are unfit to be in this place. Principles only matter, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is said, when it is inconvenient to stand by them. And I want to know, what are the principles of the leader of the opposition? To make fun at the issue of resilience, to make fun at sustainability, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to clothe himself in the garment of a climate skeptic. And we need to know whether he too subscribes to the view that the climate crisis, or what we call the climate crisis, is a hoax. This country, sir, is seeing and is living through a reality that includes increasing temperatures. It is living through a reality, Mr. Speaker, that includes the heightened frequency and intensity of hurricanes passing through this region. We are living through, Mr. Speaker, sir, a reality that has seen high rising sea levels and extreme coastal damage. Only last year, Mr. Speaker, sir, we witnessed Hurricane Beryl do that which we thought was unthinkable to the fishing fleet in this country. Only last year, Mr. Speaker, sir, we had to go off budget to look for an additional nearly $200 million to repair infrastructural damage caused by Hurricane Beryl, Mr. Speaker, sir. We are living through a reality where we are seeing our water supply being endangered, sir. And we hear from an opposition that issues of sustainability and resilience are to be met with laughter. The Blue-Green Bank, Mr. Speaker, sir, did this one simple thing, you know. It seeks to pull together public, private, and multilateral financing institutions. It seeks, Mr. Speaker, sir, to secure financing for climate adaptation projects and also for climate mitigation projects. And what does that mean, sir? The Minister of Agriculture was confronted last year with thousands of chickens dying, because we packed the chickens into these relatively small spaces, and the heat threatened to undermine our poultry industry. We have to find the resources, sir, in order to enable the poultry producer to sustain livelihood, continue to feed this nation, continue to provide for the visitors that come to our shores and finance our collective well-being. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that comes at great cost. That's the adaptation. The boardwalk in the parish of Christchurch, sir, that seeks to protect the beaches. Mr. Speaker, and in addition to that, we have to be able to find the resources to assist this country and others in this region to be able to offer some measure of protection to our people. When the high winds come and destruction takes place, what have we been seeing? We see a pattern of increasing cost of insurance policies premiums. Every year, climbing higher and higher. If it reaches a point where you can't pay it, Mr. Speaker, sir, you might as well not have it. And then, sir, we see the insurance company retreating. We've seen it happen in Florida. We see it happening in California. No, we are not covering wildfires in California. That is too much of a risk. Every year, billions of dollars. No, the hurricanes passing through Florida every year. We ain't bothering with that. And America has the girth, Mr. Speaker, sir. We do not. So in a set of circumstances where we cannot easily acquire the insurance and the reinsurance, Mr. Speaker, sir, we try to work within our own means to ensure that there is some funding support that can be given to people who are discommoded, not discomforted, discommoded, abruptly turned upside down in terms of their life and livelihood because insurance companies didn't want to help you. And we have a Democratic Labour Party, sir, led by a man who comes in here and makes sport at resilience and makes sport at sustainability. That is what this energy debate is about, sir. Not the four corners of the NPC Act. Yes, it will be amalgamated. Yes, we can protect the staff. Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, once that act is passed, then, sir, the NPC will form part of one shell with the National Oil Company and the National Terminal Company Limited. And yes, bridging fuel will be natural gas. That links us from the fossil fuel era to where we have to go. But what we have to discuss in here is where we are going and how we get there, Mr. Speaker, sir. That's what we have to discuss in here. You can mock resilience, you can mock sustainability, you can ridicule the travel of the Prime Minister for the purposes of building alliances with like-minded people and like-minded leaders of like-minded countries, Mr. Speaker, sir. But what he cannot do is to escape from the fact, the bold, naked, unquestionable, incontrovertible fact that this leader of the opposition, despite all the old talk, has not tabled one parliamentary question in this House, sir, asking for a report. Prime Minister, what is it that was achieved when you traveled? Not an update. Prime Minister, can you update us on the progress of the Blue-Green Bank? Not, Mr. Speaker, sir, an invitation to help evaluate the approach or the policy that we take at government level. Not one question, but a study in laziness, drawing salary from the people of Barbados under false pretenses. A study, Mr. Speaker, sir, in conscientious laziness and sincere ignorance and apathy to the issues of the day. You hear the people outside. I don't want to call anybody name. But the officers of the parliament all around, they now say openly, a black truck is driving, seemingly empty, seemingly park itself, out steps the leader of the opposition. Empty. Empty. And his silence on these matters, sir, is the silence of betrayal. The state interests of Barbados and the vital national security interests of this country, sir, faced an onslaught from the highest office in the world, or one of them. And the opposition, sir, who must know about it, have been heard only in silence. The national security interests of Barbados, I say again, faced an onslaught from one of the highest offices in the world. And the opposition of Barbados heard only in silence. I should expect that I would hear from the media people. I should expect, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I should hear from some of the public commentators But I understand when people have their own political axe to grind. But what I know, and I know for a fact, is that there is a duty when you're coming here to demonstrate where you stand and who you stand with. And I say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that is the reason why I've taken this approach to this debate. And I genuinely feel that unless the leader of the opposition chooses to alter his course, he is positioning himself to be one of the greatest curses to afflict this Parliament in a time of challenge. As great a curse, Mr. Speaker, perhaps, as he has been a waste of time since he was elected to represent the people of Christchurch South. With those few words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm obliged to. I move that the bill be now read a second time, sir.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
I'm obliged to you, sir. Maybe I should begin in the hope that the government will apologize to the people of Barbados for the last 2 hours. And secondly, that for myself, I blame the deceased former expelled leader of the Barbados Labour Party for what this Parliament and this country heard over the last 2 hours. Now, Your Honour, I normally make notes in my duty to respond to bills that are piloted in this place. I think it was after an hour and a half over which I failed to be able to record anything that was said. And I confess that I recorded my first note from the speech after that hour and one half. I know that one of the ways of keeping the attention of an audience is to perhaps you make some jokes, or perhaps you shout as a way of assuring that the Honourable Member for St. Thomas stays awake. And if you fail with the Honourable Member for St. or if you, where you succeed, I beg your pardon, in keeping the Honourable Member for St. Thomas awake, maybe you fail in spite of shouting with the Honourable Member for Christchurch West. It was a speech in which there was much shouting. I don't know why. Although the Honourable Member said he described the legislation as innocuous, but over 2 hours of what may only be described reasonably as a tirade, I was able only to write one quote from that speech, and it stays with me curiously, and it is this. And maybe this speech will come to be remembered for that quote that I wrote, and Hansard will attribute it to the Honourable Member for St. James Central. And I quote him, "It is possible to hate the Prime Minister more than you love your country." Now, I confess to you, sir, that I probably do not have the larger context within which that quote was made. Permit me to repeat it, sir. It is possible to hate the Prime Minister more than you love your country. If the speech is to be remembered by that quote, whatever is its context, maybe the Honourable Member who spoke will have to explain to his leader what he meant to convey to this House and certainly what he meant to convey to Barbadians for that judgment of Prime Minister, that judgment of country. The only other point at which I heard anything was when the Honourable Member said that some Monday morning, some time ago, he was molested by a sheep or ravished by a sheep, something like that. Yeah, he said ravished. He used the word ravished, that he was ravished by a sheep. Now, the House probably is not aware that he shares a common border with the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central. And the House may not be aware that that Honourable Member keeps a number of goats and sheep. So that we are now unclear as to whether it is one of the sheep or goats belonging to the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central that molested him. Not guilty. It's not your sheep that molested him. I see. Well, they're neighbors, sir, and it was at that point that the House came to life when he confessed as to this molestation by a sheep. And since he confesses to having been molested by a sheep, I assume that he came out worse. And we hope that the sheep belonging to the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central is alive and satisfied. To come to the bill itself, and I'll be very brief. A qualitative reply to 2 hours of quantity does not require me to speak for 2 hours. Now, I came here this morning to remark that, largely speaking, the bill as a statute may be uncontroversial. The Honourable Member used the word amalgamation fairly often, and he credited those who had worked on the amalgamation. And one takes it that is at the kernel of this legislation. Written simply, read simply, it is an amalgamation. But somehow the Honourable Member found it possible to stretch his delivery over 2 hours in a potpourri of the usual, some invective here and there, some gesture here and there. I suppose while his colleagues rotated from their seats out and in to maintain a quorum, some may have been amused, if not impressed, by the effort. But at the center of this would be the question of oil. And the Honourable Member comes to this chamber, piloting the bill on behalf of the person in the other place who piloted it there. And by some coincidence, the Honourable Member who piloted it here is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and that is an interesting coincidence. This is about oil. And if one is to elevate the debate in speaking directly to a portfolio that is responsible for foreign affairs, one would want to remark that it is one of the perverse political attitudes that human value in any geographical space tends to be judged by the presence of oil under that geographical space. In other words, those with power geopolitically tend to pay more attention to a country and tend to rank a country's importance to the presence of oil and other subsoil resources. And this is a matter that becomes of particular significance now in this region, where we all know what is happening, and we all know the threat that this region faces. And it is therefore no coincidence that the countries concerned in the matter, I'm going to avoid the use of the word dispute, that the countries involved immediately, or should I say, most proximately in the matter, are three countries that have considerably large deposits of oil. And that is consistent with my previous statement that humanity, or the value of humanity, tends to be rated when it occupies a landscape beneath which is the presence of oil. A foreign affairs minister would obviously wish to concern himself with Barbados's relationship not only to those three countries, but to the dispute which threatens the peace that has characterized this region since the major territories became independent, most of them 60 years ago. And I think the people of Barbados would wish to hear from this foreign affairs minister what is the government's unequivocal position in relation to that threatened peace in this Caribbean, and this Caribbean that stretches through CARICOM membership into South America. South America in the countries of Guyana, which is a full CARICOM member, and Venezuela, and extending across the Gulf to Trinidad, three countries with considerable oil deposits, three countries of interest to larger countries. And I make the point again that it is not that the human beings who occupy those countries are of any greater significance within the estimation of the larger countries, but maybe it is the presence of oil. And therefore, the people of Barbados do expect an unequivocal statement as to this country's position in relation to that threat. So I'll be very brief, sir, in asking for that position to be stated. The other question that I will raise relates to that of possible deposits within the territory of Barbados. Some time ago, a previous government spent millions of dollars in a territorial dispute, I believe, with Trinidad, interestingly enough, at the time. And that dispute went as far as arbitration in London. As I said, millions of dollars were spent to determine the question as to the extent of the economic zone. And of course, those of us who did international law are familiar with concepts of the economic zone, and that It's a simple arithmetical calculation. Where two countries have borders across the seas from each other, you go to the midway point, and that determines the zone. If it, of course, is within the limit of the economic zone. Notwithstanding that, sir, this country spent millions of dollars hoping to resolve that dispute. And in 2025, the people of Barbados are entitled to know what has become of this country's policy in the aftermath of that dispute. There's one government in this country right now, and it is not for this government to ask a previous government to answer the question. It is this government that is due to give an answer to the people of Barbados. I began by remarking as to the value of oil, the fossil fuels, those fuels beneath the surface, as given, apparently, within perverse political attitudes, as I've said, greater value to human beings who occupy the earth above the subsoil. Now, if there are deposits, and if there are substantial deposits beneath the ocean within Barbados's lawful economic zone, and if this country is struggling economically, and we know it is, we don't have to take evidence now from a particular Bridgetown businessman. We don't have to take evidence from the World Bank. We don't have to find ourselves logically contradicting other sources, other government sources in this country. A walk from here down to through the street, through Swan Street, will provide the most cogent evidence that this country is struggling badly. And I will not disguise the plight of people in Barbados under the generic term country. I will say the people of this country are struggling badly. And I challenge any member in this parliament to take that walk and to go at the top of Swan Street by Palmetto and walk down Swan Street to through the street and conduct a poll of those persons who veined on that street, who are there to make a living on that street. And the operative word is living. They want to make a living, they want to live, and they want to survive, and sometimes they want even to thrive. They will tell you that beneath the lofty goal of thriving, they are struggling even to survive. And they too will have a vested interest in this country's economic performance. They too will have a vested interest in this term prosperity. And if the government seeks to persuade people in this country that there is some prosperity visiting this country, it has not come to those people who veined on Swan Street. Spoke to them last Friday. And I'm going back there this week to take further evidence. And I will leave Swan Street and going to every constituency of Barbados, including St. Lucie, where things are brown. I will not be interrupted today. Where things are brown, and cogent evidence will be given that things in this country are not well, and that the people of this country are being misled. that the people of this country are being served with false stories of this country's prosperity. False stories. And it ceases to be cheap politicking. And it becomes a cruel joke when the people of this country continue to suffer as badly as they are. And I'm not going to relate every week the stories that are told by the people in this country as to what they're enduring, while the government comes in here every week in self-congratulation with false stories of success. The stories of success pertaining to this country are false. And it is within that context, Your Honor, that I raise legitimate questions in relation to an oil industry that may bring prosperity to this country. This is not cheap politicking. Come to the people of this country and say to them, what shall be the next frontier? What shall be the next frontier for this country's development? We're here today about oil. And so I'm going to ask questions pertaining to oil and its prospects and the plans of the government and the policies of the government in relation to oil exploration. I'm not going to complicate it. Not going to complicate it. So that is the second question for the government. The first question pertained to government's policy position in relation to that pending dispute which threatens the peace of this region. And that, as I said, is related to oil. The second question is government's position in relation to oil exploration, which may have implications for economic success. What is the government's position in relation to those blocks that may or may not have been sold? And I'm talking to this government. I'm not talking to any previous government. This is the government that is in power today. This is the government that is more preoccupied with rule than with governing. So answer those questions, please. And I will consider that this debate is not closed unless those two questions are answered. The third question, Your Honor, relates to this issue of alternative energy. I'm going to be brief. I'm going to be very brief today. This country was very excited a few years ago when householders and consumers generally were told that alternative energy, and particularly solar, was going to be made available to people. Well, you don't have to make it available. It is always there. That it was going to be regulated by the government. And government, as part of its duty to regulate, had to regulate a relationship between the consumer and the light and power company. We have had reason to reflect on government's role as regulator, and we have had the courage to do so. I will remind the people of Barbados at this point, beg your pardon, sir, that in late 2023, this government came to this Parliament and amended the Utilities Regulation Act. And I will remind the people of Barbados, even if this government thinks that it is in its own interest to conceal what the government did then, and I criticized it then, and I continue to criticize it today. I have never come here with any intention other than that of telling the truth. And I have never come here except with the enabling virtue of courage. And when the government amended the Utilities Regulation Act in 2023, it inserted the minister and gave the minister responsible for energy a discretion in relation to matters that were destined to be resolved by the Fair Trading Commission. In other words, matters of cost, pricing. Matters of applications to be made to the Fair Trading Commission in relation to pricing of electricity and other utilities, not only electricity, telephones and water, even St. Lucie water. Those matters ordinarily were referred to the Fair Trading Commission. I remind the people of Barbados that that amendment to the legislation inserted the minister and gave the minister discretion to curtail those applications that were ordinarily to be made to the Fair Trading Commission. That has been the business of this government. The business of this government has been that of inserting ministerial power, governmental power. And I say it is not emotive, tyrannical governmental power into the relations between the consumer and that quasi-judicial body called the Fair Trading Commission. It has been this government's business to interfere in a relationship between the consumer as applicant and the Fair Trading Commission. That has been the business of this government. That this government has found itself being anti-consumer. It is now probably sounding like a cliche to say that this government is anti-small man. But to be honest with you, Your Honor, the policies of this government have reduced most human beings in this country to small people. People that used to call themselves middle income, and people who live lifestyles according to middle income are no longer living those lifestyles according to middle income. Because the policies of this government have impoverished the majority of people in Barbados. So all the invective, all the abuse, all the jester will not disguise the plight of the majority of people in this country who are suffering. And you know, sometimes people don't wish to be reminded that they're suffering, but this is an objective statement as to the plight of people in this country. And I say outside, and I'll say it in here, a condition of truth is that the suffering people must be allowed to speak, that the truth is never entirely told unless those who suffer are also entitled and allowed to speak. And a lot of people in this country are suffering. Take that walk, government. Take that walk across Bridgetown. Take that walk across all the constituencies of this country. And this government will be introduced to the concept of traveling. The Honourable Minister came here this morning and sought to justify these frequent excursions of a Prime Minister, and I will not apologize to this government or to anybody for remarking on the fact that this government is luxuriating at the expense of the people of Barbados by unnecessary excursions. The Honourable member who preceded me said last week that he could have been, or he should have been, or he ought to have been, or he may have been in Switzerland. But he was here. And when he said that, when the Honourable member said that, was it an admission that that planned trip to Switzerland was a mere luxury? That it was not a necessity? That the fact that he was here indicated that he chose not to indulge a luxury. But of course, it may not have been his decision. we understand, the people of Barbados will now be told that there is a rewards system in this government. That when a man becomes, or a woman, becomes a little, or let me put it differently, when a man or a woman shows discontent by the reward system in government, he's given a little trip, a little excursion somewhere. So the honourable member for St. George South, in spite of his depressed political state, he can expect a trip to some far-flung part of the world very shortly as his compensation for his disappointment. But this government is living large off the people of this country in an economy that is not performing. And we come here today to discuss oil, and I've asked all the questions that I have asked pertain to oil. And nobody's going to intimidate me. Nobody is going to intimidate me with insult, with jokes, with invective. None of that will intimidate me. I will come here every week and I will speak the truth. I will speak the truth. And I challenge this government to face up to the people of Barbados and tell them the truth as to the non-performance of this economy, oil or no oil, amalgamation or no amalgamation. I'm not going to dwell on a simple piece of legislation, simple within its four corners. As the honourable member for St. James Central said, it is about amalgamation. Is that the entire issue? If that were the entire issue, the honourable member would have spoken for 10, 15 minutes. But the honourable member concedes that there are matters pertaining to the legislation which deserve his own attention. And he favoured you, Your Honour, with 2 hours. I shan't speak for 2 hours. I am going to wrap up very shortly with those questions. And I was on the third question as to alternative energy. And I interviewed a citizen of this country just last week on a matter of common interest. And there are people in this country who are still complaining that they want to improve their financial lives by lowering their electricity bills. And it is fairly obvious now to all of us that one of the ways of lowering your electricity bill is to draw on alternative energies. The honourable member spoke of a wind turbine and boasted. And we could all speak of the sun. And everybody in Barbados now knows that if you draw your energy from alternative sources of energy, your bill to the light and power is lower, is made lower. Except that this government has to come to the people of Barbados and disclose in frank discussion why no more persons can gain access to the grid. And being unable to gain access to the grid, they will continue to pay high electricity bills. And this is not a condemnation of the sole electricity company. This is an explanation of the plight of the people in this country who want to be able to live, not luxuriate. The question of luxuriation is that of the government's enterprise. The people in this country don't want to luxuriate. They simply want to live, to survive. And even if this government deprives them of the opportunity to thrive, they want to survive. And it is now common knowledge that access to alternative energy will allow people in this country to survive, to lower their energy costs. And they're not without some creativity, because those who are denied access to the grid without proper explanation from the government have decided on their own creative effort to construct and install systems of alternative energy on their own domestic space, on their houses, with batteries. And I'm told that there are some Barbadians who say, well, look, we don't wish to lose dependence entirely on the light and power company. So what they do, the appliances that require most energy, they're saying we are going to connect those to our sources, or to our systems, I beg your pardon, of solar power. People are very creative. And that is what adversity does to people. It makes them creative. And so people in this country are functioning in spite of this government, in spite of this government's reluctance to point the way towards financial savings so that the average man and woman in this country can feed himself or herself and their children by lowering what is possibly one of the highest domestic costs that confront them. Apart from food, of course. But I say to you, Mr. Speaker, that there are some households in which the utility bills compare favorably with the food bill. And that is why when you speak to people, they will ask you to assist them with the utility bill. All 30, I wish all 30 would be here on a Tuesdays apart from budget day. But all 30 of us in here experience this. They know, we know, that when we speak to constituents and citizens, and when they ask us for help, more often it is about a utility bill and less often about a food bill. Because their plight is one in which they know that in order to live, you must eat. You can live without utilities, but you have a bill. So what they do, they come and ask to help with the bill. And that reflects that relationship of which I spoke. That reflects a choice made by people. That reflects, Your Honor, that there is as much difficulty paying an electricity or utility bill as there is paying a food bill. And we all must live. So what people will do rationally is buy food. They have to, they can't starve. This government knows the word no. This government knows the pain, the parental pain of saying to a child no. This government knows what it is for a parent to look a child in the face and say no in relation to the most basic requests. And this is a government that comes in here every week in self-congratulation, thumping the desk at these cosmetic disclosures as to the government's performance, which is really non-performance, because this government has failed the people of Barbados. From St. Lucie to St. Philip, from the Brownwater to the Moss, failure. I don't wish to digress. I don't wish to digress. But there's omnipresent failure in this government's policy. Where's the, and I may do, sir, and you may stop me, but where's that machine that was supposed to solve the sargassum problem? Where is it? And if there's no answer to that, where's the solution to the problem in St. Lucie? Only this government's contempt, reflected in the words of a government official a few days ago that let them drink it. There was the French monarch who said, let them eat cake. When the people asked for the sustenance of bread, The French monarch said, let them eat cake. We have a monarchical statement in Barbados, now let them drink the come in here. Who expect me to walk in here? And I mean, people in here seem to expect me to walk in here and praise them. I don't know why. What have they done? And what is my duty? My duty is to represent truth, and my duty is to represent the truthful plight of adversity faced by the people in this country. I said already, Dale Carnegie did not send me in here to win friends. I am here to speak truth. And anybody who gets angry about that, I'm sorry. And then again, I'm not sorry, because mine is a voice in defense of the plight of the people in this country. And I'm saying that this government is treating the people of this country contemptuously. Let them drink burn water. And if they're not drinking burn water, let them go to St. Vincent, Belize, or Dominica and find work. That is how this government is relating to the people of this country. And you get a 2-hour speech which seeks to mislead the people in Barbados as to their plight. And that's why I talk about fancy words, and I don't apologize for it. And to put it in its true context, my statement as to this government's use of fancy words to beguile people, I have said previously, and I continue to say it, even amidst the distortion of my words, that this government trades in pretty talk. That a few years ago the word was sustainable, everything was sustainable, oh, it's so sustainable. And then the following year, oh, it is resilient. And then we move from sustainable to resilient, and then everything is in the ecosystem. And the latest one now, a whole of country approach. The sale of pretty words that bear no substance, that bear no real relationship to the suffering of the people in this country. And this government does not want to hear that people in this country are suffering, because it will remind the government of its failure. And this is a failing government. 1 against 29, minus you, sir, 1 against 28, and I will say it. I'm not afraid to say it. It is the truth. Walk from here to Swan Street, to Tudor Street, and to Kensington Oval, and tell me how many voices of content you will hear. There are a lot of voices of discontent in this country. And those who benefit from some little transaction from government will seek to sway the people of the suffering people of this country, that hungry bellies are full. That is what is happening in this country. And that is why I refer to pretty talk and pretty words and cliches. A cliche never filled any child's belly yet. And there are hungry people in this country. But there are also people who are hungry for justice. And one day coming soon. One day coming soon. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Honourable Member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Before I get into the matter of the bill, transfer and vesting of assets in the Barbados National Energy Company, my mind, as most of us in here today, must be with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica, who are now facing the second largest in terms of speed hurricane seen in the Atlantic. I understand some wind speeds in the 200+ gusts with 185 miles per hour sustained. You know, that is beyond numbers. Category 5 type hurricane infrastructure, no infrastructure in the world is built to sustain that. So our minds are with them, our prayers are with them today, as we will be there in the recovery effort. I have no doubt that Barbados will be there. But you know, Mr. Speaker, is also interesting because it says that we as a region face the brunt of the climate crisis. The crisis that we do not significantly contribute to. And it is linked actually to this very same debate because it is about energy. And the first world nations over the years using fossil fuels that burned energy to create carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas that has caused the warming of the globe. And that warming of the globe, Mr. Speaker, has caused the seas to get warmer. And by causing the seas to get warmer, it means that hurricanes are stronger. And hurricanes are more frequent. It's almost every year now that we see category 2, 3, 4 hurricanes in this region. I recall a satellite picture a few years ago that had 5 hurricanes simultaneously in the region. All because of that climate crisis. All because of that global warming that came from burning fossil fuels. And this is why this debate is so important today. Because I beg to differ from the member of, well, I can't call him member of Christchurch South anymore, the leader of the opposition, because he say he ain't bothering with Christchurch South no more. He done with them, and he gone to St. John. Pack up his bags and gone. So the leader of the opposition suggests that the debate is about oil. But I beg to differ. This is not about oil.
That's right.
This is about energy.
That's the point.
And he misses the point.
You don't understand it.
Because oil is not the only source of energy. And that's exactly what this is about. Energy can be got from the sun in terms of solar. Energy can be got from the wind in terms of wind turbines. Energy can be got by many other sources, geothermal. Energy can be got even kinetic, biogas, all these other sources of energy. This is not about oil and oil alone. This is about transforming a nation, using the nation and all the aspects of the nation to be able to generate energy so that people, when they turn on the light, they could get light. So that people can have the ECG or the heart monitor, so that the surgeon can operate, so that the gases or the generator are adequately powered. That is what this is about. It is about understanding that energy is a mix, not relying on one and putting, as we say in Barbados, not putting all your eggs in one basket. And that's exactly what this is about. Bringing everything together, the National Petroleum Corporation, the terminal, and the BNOCL. And you know, Mr. Speaker, I was the chairman for the National Petroleum Corporation from 2003 to 2008. And you know, people say, I still act as I'm the chairman. I haven't been that for many years, but because I recognized and I learned the sector. I learned how important it was, how an important input natural gas is, and how important input energy is for a society. And it's not only about power. And I'm not talking about the raw political power that the leader of opposition is looking for. I'm talking about powering an economy, making a country go better, making a country build. And whether we like it or not, the honourable leader of the opposition is entitled to his opinions, but he's not entitled to his own facts. And the facts of the matter are that this country has been upgraded time and time again by external agencies. This is not BLP, DLP, or when it was NDP or Solutions or whatever it is. External agencies are saying, Barbados, you are on the right track. Your economy is doing well, and therefore we are going to upgrade you, and we've done it upgrade after upgrade after upgrade. Not tinged, not biased by any political slant. This is what an independent advisory body called Fitch has told the people of Barbados. Standard & Poor's upgraded us. Fitch upgraded us. Not a downgrade in sight. Upgrade after upgrade. We have to listen to them. We have to understand, and you know, as much as it pained me sometimes to listen to the opposition, to suggest that the country is in trouble. Would a country be in trouble if you have investor after investor lining up to come and do business in a country that is in trouble? No. Would that be throwing away your money? Investors are coming because they see Barbados is on the rise. That's exactly why they come. That's exactly why you see so many hotels building. That's exactly why you see people looking to build warehouses. That's exactly why you see looking for people to get involved in energy and investments in energy. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, I listened carefully to my friend from St. James Central. But there's one investment he forgot, and I have just gotten up to talk about it. It is the hydrogen investment in this country. First time in the region. First time in the region. It's called Renewable with HDF, which is the hydrogen fund, the French hydrogen company. And let me explain what it is, because a lot of people don't understand it. I can try to explain it simply. What the intention is, they have a PV farm which generates electricity. Some of that electricity goes to the grid. The rest of the electricity is used with what's called two electrodes, an anode and a cathode. That's really positive and negative. Pass that electricity through water. What that water does is called the system of electrolysis. What that does is that splits water. Water is known as H2O. You pass electricity through the water, it splits H2O into H2 and O. H2 is hydrogen, hydrogen gas. That gas is then captured when the sun is up. Once the sun goes down, that gas is then put through something called a hydrogen cell or a fuel cell. That fuel cell produces more electricity when the sun is down. And that's exactly what it is. That is called green hydrogen. And that is what we are doing in Barbados. It is not about oil. It is about energy. And in the same way, in a way, and it's clear. It is clear. It is absolutely and pellucidly clear. To use a metaphor that a member from his side used to say, it is pellucidly clear as a blind man on a trotting horse going backwards. It is pellucidly clear, Mr. Speaker, that Barbados is doing better than it has been doing before. It is pellucidly clear that when Labour leads, Bajans succeed. And we are not going to let anybody, any organization move us from that trajectory. It is our intention to do whatever we have to make sure that we change how things go in this country, that we improve our energy mix, that we give opportunities for people. Opportunities, it's about empowering the average Barbadian. And yes, photovoltaic systems are there. Yes, you can sell your photovoltaic energy to the light and power. But yes, you can also have batteries and have it off-grid. And there are a lot of people that have batteries and are using it off-grid. And that's exactly what it's about. And I have no doubt that you're soon going to see more wind turbines as well. Because finding the right mix, giving an opportunity to the average person to improve their lot, that is what this is about. And when we talk about battery storage and the opportunities for people to invest in battery storage, let me be clear. Battery storage opportunity is very important. When you are doing investments in PV, it's what we call land hungry. You have to have a lot of land to do it. But batteries do not need the quantum of land that PV needs. So it means that other people who may not have a lot of land, a container size, a 20-foot container, a 40-foot container, you can have a 0.5 megawatt or a megawatt in a 40-foot container. That's all you need. And it means that your opportunity to get involved in the energy sector without having land, but having an opportunity to be able to participate is now open. So it's about empowering the average person in this country. I have no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that very soon you're going to see houses with what you call the battery wall. They have houses with that now. Tesla produced a battery that was on the wall for houses. And I have no doubt that we're going to soon be seeing that in Barbados. You have PV on the roof. You have a battery wall, which is a wall basically that is a battery. And then you use it to plug in your car. And let me even go further. There is technology existing, Mr. Speaker, for those who may not know, that you can actually use the battery in your car to store your own electricity. So you have PV on the roof. You have the battery plugged in at the house, the car, because it's an EV car. You get the electricity from the PV. You use the battery of the car to then give back electricity to the house when you don't have electricity in the nighttime. All of these opportunities. The opportunities and the technology continues to improve by leaps and bounds. And we as a government are following it. We are continuing to keep abreast of it. And as more opportunities become available, we will make them available to the people of this country. Because we recognize the significant benefits of getting people involved, helping them to understand, and helping them to recognize that this is a vehicle that they can improve themselves on. Now I say, Mr. Speaker, and I want to be very, very clear on this. Cost of living is a problem. Worldwide. Worldwide. Cost of living is a problem. Have we done things about it? Of course we have. We had the compact. And in that compact, we've been tracking the prices. We continue to track them. And we're seeing that some prices are in fact better than they were even at that time. But that was because of the same price of oil at the time. So when oil prices are high, it means that transportation prices are high. So therefore, costs are transferred on, so you get inflation, imported inflation. But now, the cost of oil has gone down. That together with the compact that we arranged with the suppliers and the distributors, meant that the government worked to control the cost of living. Is it the be-all and end-all? No. Are we going to continue to find new and innovative ways to control cost of living? Absolutely. 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 And this is exactly why we work every day. And this is one of the ways. Because when we amalgamate the NPC and the BNOC and the terminals, it means that there'll be cost savings in there. It means that there's cost savings that we can pass on to consumers so that we can control the cost of living in this country. And you know, at the end of the day, I honestly believe that all of us come in here to make lives a little better for the people of this country, our brothers and our sisters. I actually believe that. And this is one of those measures so that we can better manage our resources, better manage the companies, and by extension, give Bajans a better deal. And that's what the Barbados Labour Party is about. I promise, Mr. Speaker, that I would be brief, and I could only end on when Labour leads, Bajans succeed. I'm obliged.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the Honourable Member for St. Philip North be appointed the temporary chairman of committees. As I'm sure colleagues are aware on both sides, the Honourable Member for St. Lucie has recently lost his brother, and he is attending his funeral overseas. So he's not with us today, and our prayers and sympathies are with him and his entire family. And I would therefore beg to move that the Honourable Member for St. Philip North be appointed temporary chairman of committees.
The question is that the Honourable Member for St. Philip North be appointed chairman of committees. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. The meeting, the ayes have it. The honourable member for St. Philip North is duly appointed to act as chairman of committees. Honourable member for St. James Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And as I rise to close this debate, let me thank the Honourable Member for Christchurch West for his expatiation on the matter. I think, sir, that he brought a measure of clarity after the obfuscation attempt from the Honourable Member who leads the opposition. With respect to the leader of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, I do not know. I throw my hands in the air. You really come here, sir, to try hard to drill into a difficult skull some of the basics. Mr. Speaker, sir, we talked about transportation. We talked about the transformation that has to take place in that sector. We talked about the transformation, Mr. Speaker, sir, that must take place with regard to the technology, PV and solar. I am indebted to my friend from Christchurch West who also introduced hydrogen. We spoke, Mr. Speaker, sir, about the technology with regard to microgridding and the opportunities for Barbadians there. We talked about the job opportunities, sir. The job opportunities. New jobs, green jobs for young people. Mr. Speaker, sir, we talked about the cost, the opportunity that now exists for Barbadians to invest in a brand new sector in a manner that never took place before in any of the major transformations to sectors of our economy. For as long as we have been talking about economic diversification, sir, we failed to do it. We spoke, Mr. Speaker, sir, about the hostile posture adopted, of all places, from the White House. And Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to renewables, and Mr. Speaker, we got a response that really suits a 5 or 10-minute segment on the Marcia Week show. And if Parliament is only going to be reduced to that, sir, then in a real sense, much is lost. And then, sir, having nothing to say useful, we went through the exercise of the questions. Now, I say to the Leader of the Opposition, I have no difficulty. If you want to ask a question, there are rules of this House. If you do not know the rules, familiarize yourself with them. They're available readily. There is an opportunity to put parliamentary questions to people. And you do that via a specific format. If the Honourable Member is too lazy, or does not understand, or did not know, now he knows. But I will humor the member, sir, because the questions really were, quite frankly, irrelevant. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West spoke to the first one. It is a nonsense to come in a debate where I began by saying that we are talking about using natural gas as a bridging fuel. Not for once did I say anything about oil, Mr. Speaker, sir. I said specifically we have abandoned fossil fuels, and we have abandoned that fossil. The fossil went behind the Speaker's chair to seek out advice from the short. Another fossil to come back and talk in the debate about energy, about oil. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government of Barbados, if the Honourable Member wants a direct and unequivocal response, the cabinet of Barbados, sir, is very clear. It in a matter, you want to laugh at yourself now? We are all laughing at you, so you can as well join in it. The cabinet, Mr. Speaker, sir, is very clear. If the majors, the large oil companies that are capable of doing exploration, are interested in extracting gas, Barbados is there with them. Gas will be used by this economy under this administration, sir, as the bridging fuel to take us to renewable energy. We will not turn our face away from that. The discussion about oil, sir, is not on the cards. Mr. Speaker, I go further. The issue of what is happening, and I presume he's talking about Trinidad, Venezuela, and Barbados. Because he, up to now, and I believe it is really rooted in a lack of understanding, the honourable member did not condescend to say what states he is speaking about in this region. But he made some vague reference, as he usually does, as though this is something that is really too difficult to comprehend. And it may be for him, but it is not difficult. I am sure he's familiar by now with the annual conference of the Barbados Labour Party that took place last weekend. I am sure, Mr. Speaker, he is aware of the unequivocal position taken by the Prime Minister of Barbados, who was joined on Sunday by the Prime Minister of Dominica, who took an equally unequivocal position, which reflects a position that I have put into the public domain as much as 3 weeks ago. We are interested in maintaining a zone of peace in this region, sir. We are interested, Mr. Speaker, sir, in continuing a partnership with our friends in the United States, which is based on mutual respect, which is based on collaborative arrangements and sharing of intelligence, because we have a vested interest in fighting narcotics trafficking. All of us in this region have that problem. All of us understand that connected to that problem is illicit guns and ammunition illegally being used in our countries. All of us want to work with any institution or any serious entity like the American government that is willing to assist. Where we have drawn the line, sir, is on the question of what is the legality of the matter. And we have a difficulty if our domestic law says that we should arrest somebody who is a suspect. Barbados's domestic law says to the government of Barbados, you must ensure that your forces, your security forces, arrest a suspect, that you bring them to trial along with the evidence that you may have about the allegation of their being involved in the crime of narcotics trafficking. And that after fair trial, where a man has a right to represent himself and be heard in his own defense, then, sir, you open the gates to what the punishment may be. We say to our friends in the United States that to the best of our knowledge, information, and belief, that is the same principle that applies in the United States of America in all of its contiguous states, bar none. And so therefore, you arrest a suspect, you seize the evidence, such as you have, you bring the suspect to trial. After trial, where a person has a right to be heard in his own defense and to adduce any evidence that he or she may wish to adduce, and if that individual is found guilty, then you proceed to sentence. And we say, sir, that if you're going to shortcut that process, you are beginning to go down a very slippery slope. I, sir, do not believe that the Prime Minister of Barbados believes, nor the Prime Minister of Dominica or any other in this region, that we can make determinations of life and death arbitrarily. And we have a difficulty, sir, if in this area there is a view that you just dispose of people, living human beings, on the basis of the fact that you say you have intelligence. And that is nothing for me to cower about as Foreign Minister of Barbados. And I would have hoped that he who stands at first lip and wants to inherit a government would have the testicular fortitude to say equally that were he in the chair of leadership of this country, that he too would not cower, and that he too is wedded to a principle which is fundamental to the law of this country, that those people who you believe to be suspect of criminal activity should be apprehended, and having been apprehended, should be brought to trial, and having been given a fair trial, then face justice, and that justice should not be a summary execution without reference, sir, to the bringing to light of evidence in a court of competent jurisdiction. I don't understand the question. If that is his question, sir, I've given him the answer. The third question, sir, was a matter of meandering irrelevance that started here, inviting me to walk through the city of Bridgetown. I've walked the city of Bridgetown many times, many times. I meet people who are happy to see me. I meet people who are unhappy that he is in the Parliament of Barbados. I meet people, sir, who complain about the Democratic Labour Party's failure to adjust a single policy in this country to advance the interests of people. I meet people, sir, who hope and pray for the day when you can have a serious intellectual discussion in this place and not the same namby-pamby foolishness that he comes in here week after week to subject us to, sir, as though it is that he believes that because he don't read, nobody else in here is capable of having a serious and sensible discussion. We believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member would do better to stop recording himself, listening to himself, intellectually masturbating himself, and to settle down. Settle down.
Honourable member,
Intellectually, sir.
Honourable member for St. James Central.
I said intellectually.
Honourable member for. Honourable member for St. James Central. I am speaking. That language is not permissible under my watch. It is not permissible under my watch while I sit in this chair.
I withdraw the term, Mr. Speaker, sir. I withdraw both intellectually and masturbating because neither are appropriate in this House when referring to the honourable member. And so therefore, sir, with those few words, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time. I'm obliged.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
I beg to move that you now leave the House, leave the chair, and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
This House is now in committee.
Madam Chair, I'm proposing that we call in groups of clauses. Clauses 1 to 6.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clauses 1 to 6 do not stand part.
Beg to second that.
Question is that clauses 1 to 6 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
7 to 11.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clauses 7 through 11 stand part.
Beg to second that.
Question is that clauses 7 to 11 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Schedule.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the schedule be the schedule to the bill.
Beg to second that.
Question is that the schedule is the schedule to the bill. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it. Question is that I do now report to the Honourable Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
Beg to second.
All honourable members, please say aye. Aye. In agreement. All those who are against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it. No report to the Honourable Speaker.
Chairman of committees, as reported in the passing of one bill in committee. Honourable member for St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the bill be now read a third time.
Beg to second.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the bill be now passed and cited as the Barbados National Energy Company Limited Transfer and Vesting of Assets Bill 2005. Act 2005, sir.
2020.
Beg to second.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Barbados National Energy Company Limited Transfer and Vesting of Assets Act 2025.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, we've come to the end of today's sitting. I therefore beg to move the adjournment of the House until the 4th of November at 10 a.m.
I beg to second that.
The question is that this Honourable Chamber be adjourned until the 4th day of November at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This Honourable Chamber stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 4th day of November 2025 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.